Yeah.
Okay. So we've obviously talked about your character. We've talked about the cast there. We haven't talked much about the crew. Let's talk about Tim as a director. How did you find him as a director?
Tim is probably one of the most brilliant directors I've ever come across. I think one of the reasons for that is because he has had a lot of experience with acting himself. I think any director who has become a director as a result of acting first has a connection, an understanding of other actors. I find working with Tim to be a breeze because he's such a brilliant director. If anybody can bring out the best side of an actor, for those actors who are willing to take direction in the first place, he is the man to do it. Tim Lamont wrote the screenplay, one of the most brilliantly written scripts that I've ever read, and I've read many. So he wrote the script. He's been an actor himself. He's directed the whole film. Very, very easy person to work with, and very, very, very supportive of actors as well, and understanding of actors. So that in itself has really been the strength of the whole film, in my opinion.
Did you get much contact with the producers as well? I mean, there have been several producers organising.
Well, there has been several producers, but obviously, my contact mainly is really with the directors throughout the film. Although Chris was there, throughout the whole production. But really, as an actor, really, I'm just listening to the director all the way through.
Well, talk to me then about the locations that you ended up at there. What do you think about them?
The locations were chosen extremely well. As far as my particular contribution to the film, I think that the solicitor's office was very good, and of course the final scene, which was up at a church in Preston, was equally as good, which is where the musical ending comes in.
Where was your office?
I think Thornton Solicitors, I think it was, if I remember correctly.
Okay. I think that's all I need to know. That's magnificent. Anything you'd like to add? Anything you'd like to put on the end there?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, good. Fantastic.
That's
perfect,
brilliant.
Stevie.
And we're going.
Okay then. So, if you would like to start by introducing yourself and your role, what do you do?
My name's Kate Murphy, and I'm the production coordinator for Willpower.
Excellent. And if you could start by telling us a little bit about the film. What's it actually about?
Okay. Willpower's a comedy that centres around Shelley and news of her husband's death. Her and Daniel, who is Will's brother. It's a really confusing story. Shelley and Daniel go to the solicitors to discuss her husband's will of £100 million, and they're given a sort of situation where they have to decide whether that money goes to their cousin Derek, who's a bit of a dope, or Jack, who is Shelley's son. And so comedy ensues, and yeah, that's the kind of premise of the story, really.
Excellent. And your role in this was as a production... What did you say?
Production coordinator.
Production coordinator.
Yeah.
And what exactly did that entail? What do you do?
I schedule things. I scheduled the shoots. I kind of drew up the call sheets for the actors, and made sure that everybody kind of knew where they were, at what day, on what time, and just make sure that things were running to plan. So a lot of that is kind of pre-production, really. I spent a lot of time trying to work things out and make sure that people were in the right places. But with anything like in those kind of roles, there's always going to be things kind of thrown at you from the sides that you have to deal with. So yeah, it's quite a stressful role really, but I try and handle it as much as I can.
And like you said, yes, there's always going to be problems thrown in there for you to deal with. Any particular ones stand out?
Well, it wasn't so much of a problem, but more of a golden opportunity in that Tim, when we were shooting a scene at Shelley's house, which was a huge manor house, the neighbours there had Steadicam equipment, and Tim really wanted to have a play around with that, which was really good, and we got some fantastic footage for like the final scene of the film. But it was slightly stressful for me because setting up things like that always takes hours, and we were already running behind on the shoot, so it was like oh no. But yeah, you just got to keep calm and go, okay, fine, got a bit of time to sort that out, and yeah, just get through it. And just try not to tear your hair out, really.
And you managed that. It all came together.
Yeah.
Do you think it was a success at the end of it?
Yes, I do. I think it was fantastic. It just shows like how amazing people can be. Like we had a huge talent pool for the production, really. The cast are just fantastic, and the crew really worked solidly throughout the production. And so yeah, even though it was quite an ambitious project, it ran really well, and everyone kind of worked together as a big happy family. So, yeah.
And talk to me about casting, because you were the one that was actually casting all of the actors, am I right there?
I wasn't really. I kind of managed the call for the actors, but I wasn't actually present at the auditions and stuff. So I wasn't really that involved in the casting. But I mean, Tim did a marvellous job with that, and his selection of characters was just incredible. Everyone, I don't know, they really make the character come alive from what was on paper, really. I kind of joined the production right at the very, 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 very start in kind of script development stage, and it was in January 2011, and I was a bit of a loose end with projects. So I just put on my Facebook, I'm looking for a new project for 2011, and Tim got back in touch with me and said, I've got something that is up my sleeve at the moment. Would you like to discuss my new project? So I said yeah, and then Willpower was born, and yeah, it was. He explained the story, gave me a copy of the script. I thought it was fantastic, really, really funny. I thought perhaps maybe it could be cut down a little bit here and there, so he cut it down to a 15-page script from I can't remember, it was probably about 25 pages or something like that originally. We had a look at the 15-page script. Tim didn't like it, so then it turned into like a 30-odd page script after that. So it was always going to be a bit of a long short film, but I think in the end that was the best choice, because I think a lot of the characters really come to life in the story a lot more than if we had a more condensed version.
Okay, and from what you've said there, you worked with Tim on two separate regards: the pre-production script development stage, and also the actual production of the thing on the day as well. How did Tim deal with that?
I think he dealt with it quite well. Like when we actually got to shooting the film, my role kind of turned into a sort of I don't know. I think he kind of saw me as that kind of scary, hovering person who, you know, if we're running over time, he kind of would have a quick look over the shoulder, and if I was there, he'd be like, "Rick, quick, come on, let's go, let's keep shooting." So yeah, I think I just kind of turned into this kind of scary figure to him that, you know, if we were behind, then I would kind of loom and lurk over his shoulder and go, "Come on, time to get ready." So yeah.
Did you play up to that role?
Yes, I did. Yes, I did play up to that role very much. Yeah.
Okay, and let's talk about the actors that you're dealing with. Lots of really talented actors there. Any stand out in particular?
Oh man, they're all fantastic. I think that everybody just played up to the roles really well. Like, I mean, it was the first time I'd worked with most of them, and I think Emma Kenny, who plays Shelley, she just does an absolutely outstanding job. I think the camera just loves her. She's just got these fantastic kind of emotions that she can put across in her sort of facial expressions and things. I think she's amazing, and she's hilarious as a person in general as well. Ian Curley's just been incredible. He just brings so much to the role that I don't know. I never sort of realised when I saw the script on paper. He's just really brought a massive character to that role, and he really stands out. And obviously our little Sean, who plays Jack, he's adorable. He's really, really sweet. Lovely little boy, and just has been such a little star in the whole production. He's been an absolute joy to work with. He's so lovely. So yeah.
How's Sean dealt with all of this?
Oh, incredibly well. It's just like a big game to him. He just loves it. He just running around, and Emma and Ian just love him to bits. Like, you just see them kind of playing with him on set all the time, and yeah, he absolutely loves it. He's just been such a star. He's no diva. He's great.
Okay, talk to me about logistics, because that's clearly your department there. What was a typical day shooting like? I mean, was it chaotic? Was it well organised? What happened?
A mixture of chaotic and organised. The shoot was very much a mixture of chaos and organised chaos. Yes. Yeah, it was. The logistics wise, it was fine. Like, I can't think of anything that really stands out. I think logistics wise, can't think of anything, dude. Sorry.
No, that's fine. But I suppose other members of the crew then, did anyone go above and beyond the call of duty?
Everybody did. It was a really big production, particularly in the kind of final act of the whole thing. It was an absolutely staggeringly big production, particularly because we had such a minimal budget to make the film, but we still had incredible dancers, a team of about 5 cameramen taking different shots, and what's that?
I'm sorry.
All right. Yeah, there was a point in the shooting of the final kind of scene of the film, which is when you discover that the cemetery that Shelley and Daniel are in is actually a big TV studio, and transforms into like all singing, all dancing, lights, and cameraman everywhere, and just this huge big show. And when we were filming that, it was all going very, very well in terms of the first day of shooting was great fun. But there was a point in that where the lighting rig went, it kind of blew up, and that kind of threw the team into a bit of chaos and panic. But I don't know. I think it was a kind of combination of like all the kind of production team, really. Myself, Tim, Chris Lane, who's just an amazing and incredibly motivated guy, and Ed Rastelli, who was production manager, who was a fantastic production manager. And we kind of all pulled together and sort of came up with a sort of plan B, really, and got 2 different units to split out and film different parts of that act at the same time, which was a little bit of a nightmare because of sound issues and just a little bit awkward. But we got the the footage that we needed, and by the time we kind of finished that, the lighting rig was fixed, so that was good. Yeah.
Okay. And regarding money, now you've just made a whole film on a self-funded budget.
Mhm.
How did you pull that off?
The film was funded mainly through Tim's pocket. It cost, the budget of the film was about £6,000, and that includes absolutely everything that you see in the film, the lighting, camera work, everything, and a lot of what you don't see, which is around sort of
Okay, we're going again.
We happy? Okay.
Okay.
So we were sort of halfway talking through about how the project was funded. So Tim
Yeah.
has done it. Just pick up from where you left off.
Okay, so the film was shot on about £6,000, which includes kind of everything that you can see in the film in terms of lights, sound, cameras, everything, and also includes a lot of the sort of things that you don't see, like actors' expenses, catering, all sorts of overheads and just little bits and pieces, insurance, everything. We managed to get everything done on £6,000, which is incredible. And that was done from a lot of favours and blagging and beg, stealing, borrowing, everything. It was hard work, but we did it, and I think we're all extremely pleased with the results there. Yeah.
And you obviously pulled in a lot of very strong talent for that. I mean, all the actors are very professionals, and you've got a lot of very good crew as well,
Absolutely.
and equipment, and all of these things. What do you think all of the people got from it then? Why were they involved? What do you think?
I think that people wanted to be involved in the production because there was a lot of kind of I think people wanted to get involved in the production because there was a lot of sort of conversations going on Facebook and just between one another as filmmakers about it, and I think a lot of excitement started building up around the project, which was fantastic. In Manchester we have quite a close filmmaking community, which is brought about through short films and short film nights such as Filmonic and Kino Shorts. So everybody kind of knows each other, and I think Tim had called in quite a lot of people from the filmmaking scene locally to Manchester, which is really great because we all know each other, and we all know how each other works, and yeah, I think people just wanted to be a part of it in the end. I think it just sort of became such an exciting project that people kept hearing about, that everybody wanted a piece of it, and I think it really shows what can happen when a whole sort of team of people can come together and do something creative. I think it's excellent, and you don't need to have a big budget for that.
Good. I suppose the only final thing we should really talk about is the set, because some of the set was actually built from scratch, wasn't it? At least it was sourced from somewhere. How did you get the set together?
Oh gosh, Tim can probably tell you more about the set than I can, to be honest. But we did have a set designer called Rhiannon Clifford, and she spent days painting the backdrop for the final sort of end bit of the film, the TV studio bit. So yeah, it was kind of her one-man band painting this set, making sort of clouds and the sort of gates that could open and close. It was absolutely incredible. Tim had got the sort of flats for the set. I think he'd driven down to London to collect them for free in his van one day, which was a bit of a mission, but yeah, absolutely amazing.
Anything you'd like to add on the end?
Anything I want to add? I can't really think of anything. I was just really absolutely blown away by the range of talent and skills that were were part of this production, and I think that everyone should be really, really proud of their efforts. I think it's a fantastic film, and I can't wait to see it on the film festival circuit in 2012, 2013.
Perfect way to end. Happy with that. Anything you want to know?
No, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
So, without being a little bit nervous about it at all, if you want to just start by introducing yourself and saying what you did for the film, what's your job title?
Okay, well, my name is Emma Wilcox, and I am the key makeup artist, and I'm also an actress in the show, in the film, I should say. That's what I do.
Excellent. And you acted in the film. What character did you play?
I was the receptionist. I don't have a name officially. I was the receptionist in the film, and B's assistant, / assistant. 2 roles in one, I think.
So you've multitasked throughout a few of
Yeah, I
these
did a
things.
bit of costume as well, and hair, and I'm not a hairdresser, so I gave it a good shot. I think I did well.
How did you end up with this multifaceted role?
I don't know. I was casting it to begin with. I wasn't the makeup artist to begin with, and then Tim, the writer and the director, he a few weeks later said, "Oh, do you want to do the makeup as well?" And I have done makeup before on a few shorter films, so this is the biggest thing I've done. So all right, I'll give it a go. I was a bit nervous, but I think it went off quite well. I got to do some beauty makeup and some special effects stuff, so I'm pretty chuffed with it. It's gone well, yeah.
But when you started with all of this, you were casting.
Yeah.
That was your original role. And did you have anyone in mind when you first read the script, or did this come through?
I wasn't casting it.
Oh,
I was
you weren't?
cast in it.
Cast in it. Sorry,
Yeah.
you were casting it. I was going to say I didn't know
No.
that. So you were cast in it. How
Yeah.
did you get cast in the first place? How did you get involved?
Well, Tim asked me to audition, and I did. I auditioned for Shelley, but I was given the role as the receptionist, and that's how that happened. So yeah, there's not much to say about that.
That's fine. But if you talk about the scene with the receptionist, what happens in that scene?
Well, it's a scene in the lawyer's office, so I'm the receptionist for B, who is the lawyer, and basically I'm just watching the drama unfold within the office and looking a bit disgusted at some of the characters that come into the office, and I'm a bit of a slut, I think the receptionist is, because there's a bit in it where she gives something away and she shouldn't have done, with a male character who may have offered her something. So she's a bit of a floozy, I think. But yeah.
Okay, and you mentioned that she's a little disgusted by some of the people that are coming in now. What do you think she thinks about them specifically?
She's probably thinking, what am I doing here? Like, seriously, watching what's going on. It's like, yeah, because she's, I think, out of all the characters, pretty normal, just like a day-to-day character, and these other characters are quite outlandish and very in your face. It's like, well, you don't see that every day, do you? Bloody hell. I need to go home. Yeah, so...
Do you think your character might represent the audience?
Maybe, yeah, in some scenes. Yeah, actually, no, in all of her scenes, because she's pretty confused with what's going on. So yeah, I think out of all of them, she's the most normal, down-to-earth sort of audience-connected character. Yeah.
Okay, that's a good thing to put in there. I think. Let's talk about the actual what happened on the set. Were you filming several scenes, or was it just the one scene at the B's office? Or?
Well, it was a bit difficult because I was doing the makeup as well. So on one day, which was I think one of the longest days on set, which was in the lawyer's office, I was filming downstairs as the receptionist whilst they were filming upstairs. So I was getting called like to and fro to do makeup. It's very confusing at times. I just don't know where I am. We're like, it's horrible.
Did anything go horribly wrong?
Not on my side, no. I was very professional. I got everything done. Everything I needed to get done. My lines, didn't have many. I think I had one. So that was down to a T. And so yeah, I was a bit stressed. I was high on Red Bull, I think, for like to and from, but it went well.
Okay, and obviously you were working with Tim as a director. What's he like to work with?
Oh, he's great fun. I have to say something nice. No, he's great. He's very. I've known Tim for a while, a couple of years, and so I've known him as a friend. And this is really the first time I've worked with him professionally. So it was nice to see that side of him as well, because he's just a wonderful person. He's so nice and forgiving at times and understanding, but you do see that aspect of professionalism in him as well. You know when he's in that mindset, you know when not to go and bug him, because it's like, right, ooh. But yeah, he's great to work with. He really, when you've got a question or anything like that, he's right there and he's listening and he sorts it out, and it's great. You
Okay.
get some directors that are proper funny about it. It's weird.
Okay. And the producers, there's obviously been several people in charge of actually making this happen.
Yeah.
Did you have much contact with them, or was it just a Tim? Okay.
I had more contact with Kate and Chris than I did with Tim, because obviously Tim was extremely busy setting up shots and all this. So whenever I had a problem, I would go to either Kate or Chris first before I went to Tim, and they would sort out the shooting schedules and everything like that. So it was more them I had main contact with, and they were great.
Well, yeah, we've heard a lot of people say that Chris has been doing some really good work. Talk to me about Kate's contribution. What was she getting up to?
Oh, she's fantastic. She always had food there, always. She had biscuits and coffee and tea, everything you could ever want, it was there. And she was always on time. She was always very helpful, you know, always asking if you're okay, if you need anything. And she's great and really organised as well. And that's what you want in a producer. You want someone that's on the ball. There's no faffing. She's good with telling people off as well. She's good with like, come on guys, we've got to get going, you know? So, good on her.
And a few people have mentioned that possibly Tim was scared of Kate throughout this.
I'm not surprised, to be honest, because she can shout. She can really sort of go, what are you doing, you know? Time's ticking by. So, but that's good. She's got some gumption and some balls. And you need that. You need that in a producer. That's their job. So you can't be tiptoeing around people, can you? You got to shout. Get people scared. So, yeah.
Did she shout at you?
No, I didn't do anything wrong. I didn't have long to do the makeup, but I got it done. Yeah, so.
Okay. Anything memorable from the set? Anything that you think might be funny, worth putting on camera? That's fine. That's fine.
I can't remember.
Did anything go horribly wrong?
We couldn't get in one day. Oh God, it was horrible. Yeah, we couldn't get into the lawyers. That was the really long day, and I got so grumpy. I was sat in a cafe for like 3 hours doing nothing, and then I started shouting at people because I was hungry. And then, yeah, that day was a horrible day. We got a lot done though, so I suppose every cloud has that silver lining. So that's all I can remember.
So it was that one really heavy day. That was a long
That's
day.
the
How long
only-
was it?
Oh God. I know I shouldn't be looking at you, but how long was it?
Oh God.
It was a pretty much all day, like over 12 hours, I think. It was, oh God. I was so grumpy at the end of it. I went home and I was just biting Rick's head off. She said, don't talk to me. But it was good though, because we got things done. And that's the main thing. You gotta suffer for your art, haven't you? Clearly.
But out of all of that, a film has been made. Are you happy with the film?
Well, I've not seen it yet.
From what you saw of it? Are you
No,
happy with
yeah,
how it
it's
went?
great, yeah. The end scene looks fantastic. So much work went into that. I was watching it as like a theatre show, as it was being screened or filmed. And it looks really entertaining. Like, I was kind of jealous I wasn't in it. I wanted to be in it. Why are you laughing? But, yeah. I'm looking forward to it, to be honest. And I am looking forward to seeing myself. Because, what actor isn't? So...
Absolutely. and to be honest, I think that's everything we're going to need. But is there anything you want to say? Anything that you want to get down?
Can I look in the camera?
You can look in wherever you like.
I just want to say thank you to Tim and to Kate and to Chris and whoever else was involved in putting me in this. And it's been great, so thank you, and hire me again if you want, anytime. Ta.
Perfect. Perfect. That'll do nicely. Thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
Where's your page? Just wondering if Tim's given me questions to ask various people. I was wondering if you have
leading
any.
questions.
Oh, you
Like
do.
a
You do
book.
have some questions. Magnificent. Okay. All right. So you are actually well. I was going to say,
Yeah.
the thing I've been saying to everyone is just so we're aware, it's me that you're talking to.
Yep.
So ignore the camera.
Okay,
You have
cool,
a conversation. Other thing, bear in mind the people watching it may not have seen the film.
Yeah.
So if you're talking
No
about
spoilers.
scenes, no spoilers of course,
Mhm.
but I mean if you're talking about scenes, do sort of explain the scene slightly as
Yeah.
opposed to just assuming we know it
Okay.
all. And if you're talking about people, do sort of mention the character they play as well.
Okay.
So just so we know who's
Yeah.
who and make it nice and clear. Other than that,
If you could lean back
lean back
little.
slightly so you look relaxed.
Beautiful.
And I suppose the other thing is that do remember that when we cut this together, my voice isn't in it.
Right. Okay.
So we're cutting me out, you're just a talking head,
Yep.
and it just means that if I ask you a question, the question won't be there. So if I say, what's your favourite animal, don't just say tiger, say my favourite animal
Yeah,
is
yeah.
a tiger,
Cool.
etc. I'm sure you get the idea. So, from the beginning, if you could introduce yourself as an actor and then introduce the character that you play.
Cool. Well, I'm Joseph Stacey, and I played the character of Judd Chapman.
Fantastic. And if you could tell us a little bit about what the film is about.
The film is about a. It's been so long.
Everybody's the same. Nobody knows.
It's about Daniel and Shelley. Shelley's husband has recently died in a Zorbing accident, and there's an issue with the will, and they have to decide whether to leave the money to their Shelley's son, or whether to leave it to their debaucherous uncle, whose name's escaped me. The way I come into this is I'm Judd Chapman. I'm a kind of roving reporter character. I sort of turn up chasing the story about this brother's death and an alleged possible affair between Shelley and his brother.
Okay. And how did you find the actual experience of filming it? Was it an enjoyable experience?
Yeah, it was really enjoyable. It was very very tiring, but no, it's good fun. There's a lot of great people on board, and I had a laugh really.
How did you get involved in the first place?
Well, in the first place, I know Tim from the Philmonic cabarets in Manchester, and I got in touch with him. I went round for a casting, and a few weeks later he gave me a phone call, and then yeah. Every Saturday and Sunday I was traipsing down at early hours in the morning to a kind of some godforsaken location in Manchester.
Tell me about your character. Manchester.
It's made so much easier than you've been laughed at.
Yeah, well, my character, Judd Chapman, I've actually seen him as a bit of a tragic character, though most people would probably call him a bit of a twat. He's a kind of... It'd be unfair to call him comic sort of relief, but that's what he is. He sort of falls around a bit, gets beaten up. I think I got headbutted, slapped in the face with a spatula with grease dripping off it. Then I just got battered at the end. You might be able to check out some pictures of that. It looks horrible.
And I understand that most of your lines, or maybe not most, but certainly some of your lines, made up on the spot. You ad-libbed quite a lot.
Well, yeah, I mean, that was partly due to Timmy coming up to me and saying, actually, Joe, I've written this, but I don't like it. Can you say something else and see how it works? So, yeah, a lot of them were ad-libbed. There was also this really weird wrestler theme that Tim had written throughout the lines. So it's like, no, can you think of any wrestlers we can just put in there? So, yeah, there was some structure behind them, but, yeah.
Do you remember any of the particular ad-libs that you threw in there?
Randy Savage, I think, was one of them.
Big Daddy also.
Big Daddy, yeah. I'm glad you can remember it.
No, I've got the words tongue twisting in here. It's like various tongue twisters used on there.
tongue
It's
twisters.
just something that Tim wrote for me. Do you have any idea?
No, not really.
No reference to that.
No, I can't really.
Never mind. Let's go with it. He's also written the words mustard, food, etc. You know anything?
Ah, right, yeah, that's we were filming in the Coffee Pot in the Northern Quarter, and the scene, one of the gags in the scene is that I got a phone call as I've got a big sort of, so this is how tragic my character is, a big bacon sandwich thing, and as the phone rings, I drip it all down me. So we had like 3 of these sandwiches made up, but to be honest, they looked too nice for the scene, so just sit there sort of like messing them up, putting lots of brown sauce on them, and it's one of those things where you sort of like, because there's only 3 sandwiches and you're aware that time's moving on, you really don't want to sort of mess it up. So you're sort of like there trying to make it look realistic that you're dropping the sandwich down. You can only do it once, because if your shirt gets dirty, then you kind of stuck for continuity. So I'd be there and it'd be like, right, okay, phone call, go. I'm sorry, Tim, I've just bottled it. I can't drop it down because it won't look right. Can we just go again, guys? Okay, cool, right, phone call, go. No, it was coming out, but it just was coming out the wrong way. Eventually, by the 3rd time, I think I got it down, and smeared myself in ketchup, sausages, and mustard.
Talk to me about locations.
Locations? Well, my big main location was at the Coffee Pot. I was there at the offices, the law offices, for a short while, where I was forcibly removed by 2 rather large gentlemen. That's just another one of my one of the many things that have happened to me. During the final location, Preston was the one where I was fully blooded up, looking filthy, all day, sat there waiting to be seen until like 6:30, something like that. Timmy, we've got another scene with me. Oh shit, Joe, yeah, just hang on, mate. So that was cool. I think one of the most memorable occasions during the filming was at the Coffee Pot. There's what happens in the scene is I run outside because I get a really important phone call without paying for the sandwich. And then Tigger Golding, who's playing the chef who serves me the sandwich, is supposed to run outside and say, "Hey, Lord, you've not paid for your sandwich. Are you listening to me?" This is before she hits me in the face with a spatula. So I run outside with my phone call being all, no, you stick there, just stay on the line. Tigger comes running out after me. "Oh, you muppet, you've not paid for your sandwich." And just as she comes out, 2 huge sort of like mank women grab hold of me and like, "Oh, it's alright, love, we've got him, we've got him, what's he done, what have you done?" I was like, stood there thinking, oh shit, what's happening? And Tigger comes out, her face just drops, guys, making a film. Oh, right, I wondered why he was just stood there filming it. Yeah. What other location was I at? I was at the wedding, not the wedding location, there's no weddings in this. That's another film. That's your life.
There was a wedding going on next to one of the locations, though.
Yes,
That's
there
what
was.
you're
There was a location that was in a church, and the hall was actually being used for a wedding reception. So we had to kind of work all around that. But I'm sure they found it quite exciting.
Talk to me about the crew of the film. Obviously, we know about the cast, but how was Tim as a director?
Yeah, Tim was lovely and very caring.
Elaborate on that?
Well, he'd kind of rub you a lot and say nice things in your ear, which was always nice.
And how about the producers, people like Kate?
Oh, Kate and Chris were fantastic. They were just always busy, looking busy, and that's obviously the most important thing.
Any major problems with the production? I think that might have nearly ended it.
You see, I'm not sure because the last day was very, very frenetic because there was a lot of stuff going on, and we were choreographing a fight scene with myself and Tal, who I actually punched in the face. Sorry, Tal. We were shooting this fight scene as they were shooting another scene further along the hall. So we were action on the fight, then cut. Action on the scene over there, then cut, action on the fight, then cut, action, and so we were very pushed for time, but I don't know. I don't pay that much attention to what goes on around me.
And any other particular stories from the set that you think might be interesting in?
Hold on.
Well, tell you what, in that case, how did you feel about the script when you first saw it?
I loved the script when I first saw it. I thought it was. I really liked the character Judd, because originally at the casting I cast for Daniel, which Ian Curley played, but I really wanted Judd anyway, because I thought, yeah, I can fuck around with this one a little bit and just get a bit messy in it. So yeah, I thought it was a well-structured piece of script writing.
And obviously, it's a good blend between comedy and quite serious drama as well.
Yeah, yeah.
How do you think your character fits in with that?
Yeah, I think it's just nice to watch someone getting beaten up, especially if they're a bit of a tosser. So that's me.
Any other questions from you two? Anything you want to say?
Oh, I can't think of
it. Okay.
The fight. Talk about the fight.
Talk about the fight.
That'd be useful.
We myself and Tal met one day with Tim whilst they were actually filming another scene. It was in Heron House, and Tal's got a background in sort of like martial arts. He's quite fit, do you know what I mean? And I'm sort of like a beery smoker, so I was a bit nervous about doing it. So we sort of like got there and started choreographing and punching each other a little bit. Then Tim came and said, "No, it's all right. You just need to get battered, Joe." So that's pretty much what we did, and we recorded it, and hopefully it looks good.
But out of that fight, you actually punched him in the face, genuinely.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, it was that confusing. I'm on top of him like this, like punching like that either side of his face, and he's moving his head like that. And when we came to shoot it, we were shooting it. Someone told us that we were shooting it in sections, and then someone said we weren't shooting in sections, we'd shoot all the way through. So I got the message that we weren't shooting in sections, that we were shooting all the way through. Tal got the message that we weren't shooting all the way through. So when he sort of like thought we'd stopped, he didn't move his head, and my fist kind of went into his nose. I felt pretty bad, but I don't usually punch people. It was kind of exhilarating.
Anything you'd like to add? Any little snippets, stories you got there?
I feel like I should, and I probably do.
Later. Alright, so talk to me briefly at least about other actors. Anyone really stand out for you?
I think because it was such an ensemble piece and such an effort, it would be wrong for me to say so and so stood out, because there was a lot of people involved and all the performances were very, very strong, and everyone's playing different characters. So, but I've luckily met a lot of good actors and a lot of good production people, so it's all good. Everybody's happy.
And what did you actually get out of the whole experience?
Well, I built up a friendship and maintained strong friendships with people, and I don't know. I just do it for the crack.
Lots of crack on set?
Oh yeah. We were cracked senseless.
I think that's all we're going to end on cracked sense.
Okay. Yeah, we're going.
Okay. So, if you'd like to introduce yourself first and tell us what you did for the film.
My name's Chris Lane, and I'm the producer of Willpower. And I only found out I was producing when I looked on Google Docs and saw that Tim had put me down as producer. And that was 2 months prior to the beginning of the shoot, which was nice. And It's like, yeah, it's basically Tim's baby, and we were at the Philmont Cabaret, and I just made a short with about 30 people in 3 days. And Tim kind of clocked this and said, "Chris, you're quite good at organising things, aren't you? Do you fancy, helping us out with the short?" And I had no idea that it was a 9-day shoot involving 100 people at that point. And before I knew it, I was involved, and that was it. Committed.
And as soon as you saw the script, then so you didn't see a script and then got involved. You were volunteered and then saw a script. So what did you think when you?
No, I did read the script before he added me to Google Docs, and I read it, and it was all. I thought it was long for a short because it was. I think the first draft he sent was 54 pages or something, and so that's about 45 minutes or so. And I was reading through, and then the final scene is quite elaborate if you haven't seen it yet. And as I read through the script, it was around, I don't know, page 40, and then I started to go, right, okay. And then every page you turn over, it's just like another logistical nightmare. It's just like, no, okay, we might be able to do, oh God, Tim, but that was it, that was the script, so that's what we aim for.
And how much of that original script ended up being the film? How much got lost?
I think pretty much all of it's in there. I mean, we're still editing at the moment, but we'll probably, because the big payoff is, and the unique aspect of the film is the ending. So I'd like to make it as fairly short, leading up to it, as short as possible, because you want to get to this big payoff at the end, but we'll see what Tim says.
And did any of the characters change over the course of this? Was there anything that evolved throughout?
Well, I came on board quite late, really. I mean, it would have been nice to be there from the start. I mean, Kate had done a fantastic job in terms of like the casting, for example. They'd already cast the majority of the people when I got on board, and then it was just a case of pulling it all together. But things like there's a song in the final act, and that hadn't been recorded 2 weeks prior to the actual shoot. The graphic design for this fictional show hadn't been designed, and Tim had people in mind to do it, like Gareth to do the graphics. We hadn't actually told Gareth, and Gareth was going on holiday when I rang him. I was like, okay, right. It's like, and then Tim had this. Can I say it's musical? I can say it's musical, can't I? He had this whole musical idea how it was going to work, but the thing is, it was like a 5-minute song. I think it was a week prior to the shoot of the final act, and I said to him, I don't understand what's happening where in this 5-minute segment, and I'm quite close to this project. I've been working like 2 months with you, so how are the actors going to understand, or the dancers, or the choir who's just there kind of on the day? So we held a final rehearsal on Thursday night, and people like Ben and John Gray filmed it, and then I stayed up till 6 in the morning cutting it together, just so that people could see what was happening where, and then that was played to people like Ian Curley on the day, and they could go, all right, that's what I'm doing right, because he couldn't make the rehearsal on Thursday. The only snag of doing that was I was quite tired when I had to get up at 7 on the Friday, go up to Preston 4 times with the set and the coffin, etc. Set it up, we were there till about 10, came back, and then it was a 2-day shoot plus Monday de-rigging. It was a tired bear.
So speaking about props, you managed to source a lot of very elaborate props, including the coffin. How did that come about?
Timmy sorted the coffin out. He was adamant that he wanted this coffin specially built rather than just acquire one or amend it. I think it cost 160 quid, and the guy was really up for it, designing it. But the only thing I was worried about, because Mark on the day is in the coffin, and then he backflips out of it, so he's waiting in there, but he's got to wait in there for quite some time. And the problem was, like, when I saw it, I thought this, and there's like 2 tubes going in, so one's for smoke from the smoke machine to go in, and one's his breathing tube. So I was a bit worried they might get the wrong one on the day or something, and it's like, but we kept pumping smoke in and knocking on the coffin, just like, "You're right, Mark." It's like, "Yeah, I want more smoke." And he kept saying that. I was like, "You sure?" We can see it coming out already. I think you've had enough smoke. "No, I want more smoke." So yeah, that was a bit hairy. needless to say.
Any other hairy incidents? I've heard that there's been a few interesting challenges for a producer. You want to talk about a few things that went wrong, perhaps?
What went wrong? Where to start? I mean, we did quite well because on the day 8 of the shoot, there were I think there were about 90 people altogether, and considering no one's getting paid, you know, people actually turning up, and you know, you're always going to get a few dropouts, but pretty much everyone came. I think a couple of the choir couldn't make it. I suppose in terms of the most, like the day before we shot the musical scene, we still needed five choir members, 3 fake camera operators, and a makeup artist. And so I was just on, as well as building the set with Rhiannon, I was kind of on the phone constantly, just going, oh yeah, can you do it? Yeah, just turn up tomorrow, 9 o'clock, whatever, you know. But the worst thing was when, because Mark does a dance with 2 of the coffin assistants, and they were, we got a text, I think Tim got a text in the morning from Barbara at the school saying they couldn't come over. You know, she basically thought we were making a porn film. I was very careful in what I sent to her. Like, I didn't send any of the pictures of Fanny and Nora, or even mention their names of Fanny and Nora. And somehow she still thought we were making a porn film. So Timmy was obviously a bit distraught, and we were picking up the coffin, etc. And in my head I was like, alright, okay, it's alright, we can just have 2 normal blokes. I'll get another 2 actors today, and they can just stand in, you know, it'll be fine. They won't be able to dance, but they can just pull the curtains back, etc., you know. And then it was like panic over when I met Timmy. It was like, oh, it's alright, you know, Barbara said, you know, told the parents what it was about, and the parents just went, yeah, fine, of course they can go. So, but it's things like that you don't really need, you know, 24 hours before you shoot.
What made her think it was a porn film? What did she know that made her think that?
I can't remember what I sent. I thought I just sent the song, like the lyrics. I don't know whether Timmy sent the script, because it obviously in the script it does mention nipple clamps, and obviously lesbian kissing, etc. So I can see why that might, you know, she might be a bit cagey about letting a 17-year-old or 16-year-old students, under Timmy's company.
Fair play, if
Yes.
you think about it. Also, the other controversial thing would be a rather elaborate sex scene in a hotel somewhere.
Yes.
Yeah, hotel. How did that go down? What happened there?
Yeah, that was quite an interesting day. We were at the Light Hotel in Manchester, and we had to have a simulated sex scene. So obviously you're a little bit worried that people might actually hear or complain, and we could get, you know, thrown out. But we did save the major sex sounds, like the wild track, till the end. So it was just a case of sticking a boom out, and then they just jumped around on the bed and made lots of noise, and then we scarpered pretty pronto.
I also hear things about people passing out because of hot lights.
Yes, it turns out that the choir robes we acquired, again only 3 days prior to the shoot, were rather heavy, and when you've got all these actors on stage wearing these choir robes with lights beaming down on them, it doesn't bode well, and a couple of people fainted. It was rather like dominoes, and funnily, Tim continued to shoot. I don't think he realised that his actors were slowly disappearing out of shot, so he continued to shoot, and then once the call cut, eventually we got a round of water, gave everyone a bottle of water, cut the lights. Fun. So that was a bit scary, but yeah, everyone was fine.
And that's obviously, the producer's always going to be the one that talks about all the things which were challenging, but let's talk about some good things, because clearly it's all worked out, got a film now. How's it gone on the positive side? What have you liked about it?
Well, the reason that, I wanted to do it when Timmy approached me was because of the unique aspect of the ending, and it's...
Can you just wait till that's
No, I won't
Sirens
wait.
going.
I won't.
So, well, that's quite a good bit, an important bit.
Shouldn't have picked the roughest part of Manchester.
Yeah, go on.
Not the first thing you've done interrupted by bells and various other things as well.
You're fine.
Never mind. Are
Are
we happy with it?
Yeah,
okay.
that's
So
good.
you
yeah,
happy, Ben?
Yeah, I'm happy go.
You're more
Same question.
demanding than Timmy.
positive things. What's been good about it?
What was I saying?
The thing that attracted you to it.
Oh yeah. Thanks, Ben. Yeah, I mean the thing that attracted me to the project when Timmy first approached me was the fact that it's got this unique ending, and it is a blend of arts in a way because it's theatre. You know, my background isn't in theatre at all. It's film. You know, purely film, and so it's a challenge. You know, it's working with different people. Like we had Emma working. She helped produce Emma Kenny as well as playing one of the main leads. She was also helping to produce the dancing, and it's like Alex on the day as well. She was doing the choreography, and myself and Timmy were quite busy on that day, and we'd obviously got all this choir to turn up, but they didn't know what they were doing, and so Alex was like giving them the hand instructions, etc. You know, so having someone on board to do that, and then people like what's his name? Lighting guy.
Sam.
Alex Willie, is it?
I was going to say, can you mention all those people? But I never really knew who they were.
And then it was brilliant having people like.
Just say.
You might have to ADR this bit.
just say the lighting guys, doesn't matter.
And it was good having people like Alex. No, I mean it was good having like I can't fucking say it now.
Is it Alex?
Yeah. So it was good having people like Alex on lighting as well, and he actually stayed. He finished work on the Friday, came straight to the church in Preston, and was there. I think he stayed awake all night, and then throughout the day just working on the film. I think he got some sleep on Saturday night, and then he was at it again Sunday. So he was a busy bod. Another thing that went wrong actually, we had a power cut on the Sunday, which was obviously a pain when you've got that sort of setup, and we had to, in the end, to kind of catch up, we had to split into two units, and we had like, in this church, we had the drape across, and they had one unit one side shooting the fight scene, and one shooting some other dialogue scene. And so it would get to a point where you've got like all this fighting going on, and two booms over there, and then they say cut, and then the other side of the curtain, they say quiet on set, quiet over there, and they go action, and then it's just mental, just trying to fit it all in, and I think we overran slightly on that day, but we got it all done.
And like you say, you've had lots of things going on at the same time. You have lots of little different units working together. What's it like working with other producers? Because you weren't the only producer here. Do you want to talk about the others that were doing this?
Yeah, I mean, we had to, like I said before, like Kate, she was on board before me, so she was essentially producing it anyway. And then I came on board, kind of just to pull it all together, because there was quite a lot of stuff to do, like costume as well. We didn't have anyone on costume really, and then Emma Kenny doing the dance choreography section, because that's more her background, so she was producing that. And then we had also Chris Leonard up in Preston, and he was a massive help in terms of like turning the smoke alarm off, and things like that, things that it was just so good to have someone in Preston dealing with that, rather than us trying to sort that out as well as everything else. And also Ed came on board, Ed Rostelli, and he just produced a feature with UConn, even though he's still a student, and he's working on something with Kate now, and it's just good to have these people in place that you can trust, so it's like a wider production team. Good.
And talk to me about funding for this project, 'cause this was all self-funded, wasn't it?
Yes. Timmy self-funded this project, and it was meant to be about $5,000. I think it might have been $6,000. But at the end of the day, that's when you consider the scale of the project, like 9-day shoot, 6 locations, props such as Coffin, which opened from the top, you know, and a set was built as well, you know. So for £6,000, you know, you're getting your money's worth, so to speak.
Not to mention all these really good actors you've got there as well. I mean,
Oh.
they did it for.
Tenner penny.
But the actors were working for expenses.
Yeah, so all the actors working for expenses as well as the crew, you know, and all the locations. We got them for, you know, very little money really compared to what they could have charged. So everyone's played the part really.
How did you go about getting those locations?
Oh, location-wise, like the external of the church, we got actually 2 days before, because we'd been struggling to find the perfect church that kind of matched the inside at Preston that we'd already got. And so we just turned up at this church, and I think it was about 9:30 or something. I just turned up, and there happened to be some kids rehearsing for a play, so we just started chatting to them. And it turns out that Mark Pickering had filmed there before with Britain's Got Talent, what is it? Soapstar Superstar. So they'd already filmed in that church. They filmed our Grand's funeral scene in there. So she already knew Mark. So as soon as we said Mark was on board, she was like, "Oh right, that's great." The only drawback was when we turned up on set and everyone was expecting Peter Kay to turn up. It's just like me and Timmy with a few lines. It's like, "Oh yeah, you're right. Where's Peter Kay?" So, what are the locations? I mean, we were at Coffee Pot as well, and that was quite a short shoot. So, you know, we were only there for 3 hours, which I think meant we got a bit complacent on the day and got a bit behind, didn't we, Ben?
Yeah. Yeah, you weren't there, were you?
No, I. What else?
The house, talk about Lynn.
Oh yeah.
The Grand House, yeah.
I mean, that's the thing with low budget films. Normally people just shoot in whatever rooms they've got, you know. Like a lot are set inside student houses or whatever. So having the Lim Hall in like pretty much the opening scene and that backdrop, it just adds so much quality to the film. And they were through friends of Timmy as well, so we managed to get that, and we were there for 2 days. The only drawback with that location was there was a church down the road, so you kind of had to wait till the church bell stopped and they go, "Film, shoot, you know, camera action." So, but you know, it's fun.
Anything you'd like to add? Any other?
I'm sure there is. I keep forgetting.
You talk about, like, just name all the few. I'm just thinking, like, people like Rihanna and whoever it was on costume.
We should name drop everyone,
Yeah,
so
just
we
name
can
drop
get
all
to
the
it.
people that haven't been.
So in terms of costume, we didn't really have anyone. We were struggling to find someone because there was a big feature film in Preston that was filming as well, and so a lot of people were busy working on that and working 18-hour days, etc. So I had to get the police costume. I acquired it from a friend, Stephen Rigg, who was also the fake camera operator, which was quite handy because I think he knows how to use the camera. And we got the cast and crew Dead for a Day t-shirts a couple of days before as well, and I was a bit worried because the riots were on at the time, and it was literally I just placed the order and then the guy said, "Is it kicking off in town?" I was like, "I don't think so, no." And it was like 1 o'clock, 3 hours later, it's bedlam. So I was worried they weren't going to be able to get these bloody t-shirts because of the riots. But we got those, and then choir robes, we acquired them from someone down in London, but they were quite big, and so we ended up getting one of the choir girls to she dabbled in costume, so we got her on, like, doing those as well. We wanted feather boas. Are they feather boas? What are the feather fans?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we wanted feather fans for the choir for the big reveal, and I used to work in an abortion centre, and I got the woman there. She does costume stuff now and again, and I got her to be our main costume lady. So she sewed on a day off on Thursday before the Saturday shoot. She got some costumes together, and she made this Mark's outfit plus Stevie's outfit for the final thing. And bought top hat and cane and everything. It was great. She just, just said, "Right, we need this. Can you do it?" And she was like, "Yeah, no worries." And what?
I was going to say, just reference her name, just so we can link into her. Who was she?
You can't remember.
You don't.
Yeah, so Karen was Karen. Right, I'll do that again.
You were doing so well.
So we didn't have one main person on costume, but I used to work at an abortion centre with someone called Karen, and I got her on board to design Mark's outfit and Stevie's outfit, and she also bought things like the canes. But this was like on her day off, she did it. And her daughter, Pila, well, she was our second makeup artist, and she also helped us out. She came for the first day when Emma couldn't make it. And she, I opened this box, and I said, I want feathers, kind of just to unveil the William when he's walking down from the set. And I opened the box, and we were going to do the dance scene that day, like within 3 hours or so. There's bloody feather boas rather than big feathers. I was like, shit, slight problem. So I go to Pila and the girl who dabbles in costume in the choir and said, can you kind of make feathers out of these? And they went round the back and just did it and create these little pom-pom things. So, where there's a will, there's a way.
And the final thing would be about the music, which obviously I know you're still editing at the moment, but you have got the two composers who've been working on this. We've got James Kelly and Rob Lucas. Do you want to know?
Yeah, Rob Lucas created a fantastic musical piece. The first time I heard it, it was just like, I thought this is fantastic. And it was in my head for days on end, and I listened to it the other day and I've got it in my head again. It's like, it's worse than JLS. It's just, and we've also got James Kelly who's working on the actual score for the film, and he's done fantastic stuff in the past. And it's funny because I was actually going to work with James on a musical 4 years ago, and it's actually Timmy who brought him on board. And it's funny how things turn out, like 4 years later, and making a musical with him, so there you go.
I think that's everything I'm going to need.
What's it, just general stuff, what's it like working with Timmy?
It's a nightmare working with Timmy. Fucking nightmare. The thing is, Timmy's very adamant, on like things have got to be like this and this and this. So there was one point on set where he wanted, like him and Paul Anderson, DOP, stayed awake all Friday night rigging the set. I think everyone was awake that night, and I got there in the morning, and it turned out that Paul and Tim had driven to Liverpool to get this disco light. Now Kate had said we don't need it, and I was there when Tim told Kate, yeah, we don't need this disco light, we're fine. And then in the morning Timmy's there like that, holding like Red Bull or something, he's just like, yeah, we went and got that light. It's like, why? Does Kate know? Oh, don't tell Kate. I think Tim was scared of Kate because Kate's very organised and she's got a schedule. Whereas if I just kind of point out things and say, oh, I don't think we should do that, or Tim, have you thought about this? And just try and keep us on course, really. But I knew Kate was there, and also Matt Cow as well, as assistant director, who was brilliant on set. So I think, especially with like the earlier scenes as well, having Matt Cow step in for Kate when Kate wasn't able to make it, and that happened quite a bit. It's like on the first day, Emma Wilcox wasn't able to do makeup, so we got Pila on board, and it's just having that kind of network of people to draw upon, which is vital if you're doing a low budget film. I'm sure there's other things. We've got enough there.
There's 25 minutes.
That's 25.
Is it?
That's a lot, yeah.
Sorry.
Flies by.
No, that's good. It does fly by.
Right, I'm good.
You're all good. There's a few things I was going to ask you specifically, and I'll just find your page. Yeah, there we go. Okay, cool. Right, so if you want to start by introducing yourself as an actor and saying which character you actually play.
Yeah, I'm Mark Pickering. I play PC Sudbury.
Excellent.
Is these the auditions for Celebrity Get Me Out of Here? Alright, cool.
Fantastic. And if you want to start by sort of describing what the film is about, the whole thing, what's it about?
Well, it's about a guy who's been murdered. Well, not murdered, he's died, and there's been some money left over. So the Emma, who plays Kelly. No, Shelley. Oh, fucking hell. Okay, well, the story's about Shelley, who comes into some money after her husband dies in an extreme way, and there's a few people who are up for that money, want to get their hands on that money, and it's about that.
Okay. And your character is a police officer. Do you want to talk about your role in this?
I play PC Sudbury. He's quite a young rookie cop. At least that's how I'm playing it. He's quite vulnerable, and he's being asked to turn up at Shelley's house and deliver the bad news of the death of her husband.
Okay. And obviously this is a film with some very serious drama and also some straight out comedy. And I was wondering how you balance the two there.
Well, yeah, I mean, my character does have a slight reveal towards the end, not giving anything away, but we kind of the scene with PC Sudbury and Shelley at the beginning is quite a serious scene. So Tim, the director, had to balance out the comedy and the seriousness of that scene. So it starts off where I'm giving off the bad news to Shelley, but there's interjections of little comedy looks in there involved because of the way he dies, which you'll find out is quite extreme and over the top. So the comedy comes from that.
Okay. And would you say your character is a particularly likeable character?
Yeah, I'd say he's quite likeable. Yeah, like anyone that's starting out in their career, you know, you sort of have a soft spot for them. It's almost like his first day, and he's a rookie. He's nervous, so you feel for the guy. Hopefully, I'm doing my job right.
Okay, and I suppose talk about your relationships with the other characters in there. How do you think they regard PC Sudbury?
Well, I only get to see Shelley, really. It's not until the end where they see him in a different light, which is a real shock to them. But yeah, at the beginning, I'm just interacting with Shelley, really. So I don't really interact with any other characters.
How do you think Shelley feels about PC Sudbury?
I think she's a bit concerned with how young he is, and inexperienced in his questioning and his approach. When dealing with the death, which you hopefully see in the film, the awkwardness in the scene.
And how much of yourself is put into this, and how much was a character? How much do you involve yourself in that?
Well, I just sort of approached it. I think it helped that I approached it as though it was the first time I've ever played a police officer, so I had those qualities of nervousness as I approached it, you know. And besides, my freaking costume has to be stapled back, so I look even younger anyway, you know. It's just been fun. Spent 5 days putting paper clips in the back of it to make it look good. Yeah.
And that's really something I was going to talk to you about. Obviously,
oh, yeah.
It's a beautiful costume you have there.
Yeah.
How was this sourced? Where did this come from?
I haven't got a clue. I think Chris, our producer, managed to get in touch with a really fat policeman who has probably died or been murdered on a case. So we managed to get the jacket off him. But yeah, as I say, had to staple it up there. And the hat's massive as well. So.
Excellent. And I suppose when you were approaching this, obviously you said about the natural nervousness going into it. That obviously comes out. But did you base the character on anyone you know, or any other character you played before, or what did you bring to it?
No, not really. I just sort of approached it as natural as I could, really. I mean, without giving anything away, he isn't who he seems to be. So I just approached it very naturally and like you say, nervous. Just give him that just that natural quality, really. And so that later on there's a bigger contrast in the character.
Good. Okay. And that's obviously the character that we've spoken about, but about your experience of this, have you enjoyed the process?
Yeah, it's been a wonderful experience. I mean, I know Tim from when I was young. We're old mates together, and went to the same college and things. So it's been a real pleasure to like help a mate out as well, and get to know a lot of new people who are interested in film and have a passion for it. It's been really cool.
And any of the other actors stand out as being very good?
Yeah, I think they've all done a cracking job, especially the young lad. I think he shines over everyone. Learn from him.
In what way? What was it that you saw about
I
him?
don't know, I'm just fucking with you. No, I think everyone's done a sterling job. I think Emma Kennedy's great at looking moody. She does that really well. And Paul, who's coming to play Derek, is fantastic. Great character actor, great face. Should hopefully make people laugh. Good answer.
And regarding the crew then, obviously you've known Tim for quite a while, and obviously you've worked with him before. How is he as a director?
He's wicked, man. Tim's just got this great approach, laid back approach, but gets the job done, which I think is very important for a director. I've worked with quite a few, and they don't like to talk to people they don't have to talk to, whereas Tim is very open to everybody and suggestions. Is that right? Is that gonna
Wait till the cow.
Mysterious noises in the background.
So no, it's been an absolute pleasure because he's got that balance right between pushing and being laid back as well, and he let you have a freedom on the set as well, let you bring new things to it if you have an idea. So which is really good for an actor because it just frees you up a bit,
Of course. And obviously this is quite an elaborate production. You've had 3-4 producers doing this in total. Do you want to talk a little bit about the producers of this? What kind of job have they done?
They've done sterling work, the producers. It must have been a mission to get a lot. You alright there?
I
Biscuit.
just realised something.
Right.
If I sit eating a biscuit, it's going to be as loud as you talking,
yeah.
so I'm not going to do that.
Oh, no,
Start
it's
again.
alright.
Sorry,
Okay.
I ruined that entirely.
No, the producers have done an absolutely sterling work on this job. From getting safety pins to renting out churches to getting choir with robes, everything, all off their own back. It's been amazing what they've done in such a short space of time. Well done.
Has it been clear which of the producers have done which jobs? Are any taking control of anything in particular? Mention them by name.
Yeah, I mean, Kate Murphy's done a great job in organising everyone and getting everything done. Chris Lane has just done sterling work. Who else? I don't really know who else is producing.
Ed Rastelli was in Preston.
Rastelli, yeah.
Nothing to do with you.
No.
The other one there would be... Who's the other producer?
Matt Cow.
Matt Cow's done a bit of producing. Emma Kenny.
Oh yeah.
You haven't been involved with that. Don't worry
Do you
about
know
it.
what,
That's
mate?
fine.
I don't know.
No problem at all. That's fine.
Yeah.
In that case, well, let's just talk about any stories that came from the set. Anything interesting happening while you were filming it?
What did I enjoy when I was on set? You know what? I really just liked the whole atmosphere of the set. The whole crew and actors were really had a great vibe, and we all bonded together really well. It was lovely. It was fucking boiling as well, and I was wearing this bastard with safety pins in the back and all that. What was nice was having to rehearse with lots of pretty dancer ladies for the third act, which I can't really talk about. But no, just the whole general experience has been lovely. Everyone's doing it for the love and the passion of it, which is great, and that's what's important at the end of the day.
All right. And what did you personally get out of this? What's the obviously it was a self-funded project. You were paid for this.
No.
What was the reasons for you getting involved?
I just wanted to get involved and help a bunch of people out that are interested in making films, and it happened to be my good friend Tim that's making it, and he asked me as a favour, and I said, yeah, I want to help him out.
Any horror stories? Anything go horribly wrong during your parts?
What did go wrong? Safety pins came undone quite a few times. Got on the phone to my agent about that. Nearly got pulled off it, actually. Yeah, shame. That's going to look so good. I don't know, mate. Can you think of any?
No. That's
No,
good
no,
for me.
That's good for you?
Yeah,
You happy?
no,
I'm
yeah.
happy? Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
That's loads.
Anything you want to add? I mean, is there anything?
Willpower.
I like that. We should have got everybody to do it.
Oh, we should
Yeah.
have done that, shouldn't we?
Willpower.
Yeah,
Ages
go.
to
It
set
does,
this thing
doesn't
up.
it?
Okay. So from the beginning, if you'd like to introduce yourself as an actor and also the character that you play.
I'm Stevie Lawrence Jr. and I played the character of Mr. Bees in Willpower by Tim Lamont.
Excellent. And if you could tell us what the whole film is about, the brief description of the story, that'd be great.
Willpower is a musical comedy drama which is focused around a multimillionaire who leaves his money to his... I'm lost. Sorry.
Well, no, that's right. So he leaves it to various people, and there's a bit of a plot behind that. What's he up to?
Willpower is a musical comedy drama focused around a millionaire who leaves his money to various people in the film. But there's a bit of a twist to it. He doesn't leave it to his wife or his brother-in-law. He leaves it to his cousin Derek. And there's a bit of a twist at the end, or between his cousin Derek and his... I can't even remember. Sorry.
Is it Jack or Sean? I can't get mixed
Jack's
up.
the character, Sean's
Jack's the
the actor.
yeah, I keep getting mixed up.
Yeah, I'm useless at this.
Don't worry about it.
No, not at all. But yeah, so he's left the money to people, and he's making them. What's the condition of doing this? Why is he leaving it to those people?
Well, I think William wants to find out really, what's going on with the loyalties between his wife, and he's sort of set up a situation where they all have to fight over the money, and the outcome is at the end that he eventually changes the will back. There's a bit of a twist in it, really. Honestly, I can't explain it.
You can't give it away.
Oh, we don't want- we
I
don't
can't
need
get
to
it out
ruin it,
because
no.
I'm not prepared for these questions.
No need for it. What I would like to talk to you about though is your own character, because what would you say his role within the whole thing is?
Well, Mr. Bees plays the part of a paranormal personality who is a solicitor. He's kind of struggling with his own wealth, but he is the solicitor of William, the multimillionaire, who has set up a plot to find out basically the loyalties of his wife, who has been having an affair with his brother. There's a bit of a twist at the end, of course, whereby William is not dead, and P.C. Sunbury, one of the other characters who delivers the news to the brother-in-law, son, cousin. I'm lost again.
No.
I can't even remember the names.
Well, that's fine.
Shirley. No, don't worry.
But
it's all right.
that's okay. All we really need to know from you is kind of your own perspective on your own character. I mean, how do you think your character feels about what's going on with this will?
Mr. Bees actually knows what's going on with the inheritance and plays this role through, and I'm really lost for this.
That's okay.
I'm sorry.
That's all
No, not at all. But let's talk about the actual process of filming it then. How long were you actually on camera? How long did your parts take to film?
I only played quite a small role, or a medium-sized role, in the production, which was the part of a solicitor, Mr. Bees. There was various parts in the end where I'm involved in the musical ending, where there's a bit of singing and dancing and stuff, with the revelation of the truth that William is not actually dead. It's a bit of a mixed character, really, because Mr. Bees is a paranormal personality, but he's also a solicitor, and there's a bit of a twist at the end where Mr. Bees comes out in the musical ending, with the revelation that William is not dead, and there's lots of dancing and singing and carrying on. It's quite an interesting twist at the end in the musical finish. Yeah.
And he's been keeping that secret all the way through, because no one else knows that.
Mr. Bees has been keeping that secret all the way through the entire film. And of course, it's got lots of colour and movement and action in the film. When I say it's a comedy musical drama, it really is. The production from start to finish was very well put together. Probably one of the most professional productions that I've worked since my return back into the film and television industry. And right from the writing of the script by Tim Lamont, right through to from the casting, even the other actors in the film were cast almost to perfection, and the characters in the film are just amazing. It was one of the most interesting films that I've ever worked on. And I think that the entirety of the film has so much action, colour, and so much life, and so much appeal to what will be the general public, that I can only envisage it being an incredible success. The humour throughout the film, the personalities in the film, the characters in the film, the whole screenplay is just one of the most interesting films I've ever really participated in.
Excellent. And the thing that I like about it certainly is the fact that it has these very serious drama sequences in there, and also some very funny comedy sequences. How do you think it melds together there?
Well, the film starts out with some very dramatic scenes, and it sort of progresses through with the characters in the film, because there's some very comical characters like Derek and Fanny and Nora that are in the film right from the beginning. But Shelley and Daniel are, of course, are the ones who are on the end of this whole plot, really, to find out whether, or fighting for William's inheritance. Of course, they are totally unaware in the beginning that this is a plot, and they actually believe that William is dead and died in a paranormal zorbing accident. This is where the drama comes out in the film, and of course the fight for the money. And when Mr. Bees delivers the news, he was fully aware that this is a plot. There's, of course, some very emotional drama there, because, of course, they only inherit £5,000 between themselves, where the other £99,995,000 is actually left to cousin Derek or their son Jack. So that is quite a shock to them, as that news is delivered to them. Following that, of course, there is a funeral of William, and lots of surprises are in store there, as the whole revelation is that he's actually not dead. The whole thing's been really set up. There's a very interesting twist, and it just breaks out into this wonderful colour and movement of dancers, and P.C. Sunbury is actually in the coffin that William should be in, and bursts out, and all this colour and movement and dancing starts happening. And then, of course, William right at the end comes down the stairs with the wings, angel wings on, and then delivers his speech that the whole thing has been a set-up to find out whether, you know, the loyalties of his wife still remain, and of course then changes it all back to her receiving the money.
No, that's a really good answer to that. And what I would like to know is, Mr. Bees knows about this all from the very beginning. He's been keeping this secret. Do you think he approves of what William's doing?
Mr. Bees is basically William's solicitor, and I think he would just follow any instructions that were given to him by William. And yes, I think he would have approved of the whole situation. Yeah.
He sees some good in what he's doing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And well, that's obviously the character we've talked about. Let's talk about your actual experience on set. Obviously, there were a lot of challenging scenes to do there. But any particular anecdotes, stories came out of it? Anything you remember that really stood out for you on this particular shoot?
Well, as far as working with the other actors is concerned, the characters were very, very interesting and amusing, very, very comical sort of characters. Particularly the scene with Mr. Bees in his office. Derek was quite a sort of an obnoxious sort of a character. He was kind of like the really off-putting playboy type character. Not very cultured at all. So there was some very funny, experiences there, and I think really towards the end, when it breaks into the musical, it had some quite a lot of colour.
Yeah.
You know, in the. And quite a lot of fun was had. I think working with other professional actors such as Mark Pickering and M. Kenny and of course all the crew really was a very interesting experience. The whole cast all pulled together right throughout the whole film. To help with the producing a film that could be the best it possibly could. The team play with all the right throughout the whole film of everybody.
Have a bit of a chit chat again. I don't know. Sometimes we talk about things. I mean, willpower. What about you?
Yeah, go for it.
We're recording, huh?
Yeah, we're
All good.
recording, yeah.
So, before we get into some serious questions, just to sort of relax and get into it, a few things I'd like you to keep in mind whilst I ask you the questions, if you don't mind. First thing is that ignore the camera. Don't need to look at it. You just need to address it to me. That's fine as well. To get the chair.
Yeah.
Okay. Also, remember, we're going to be cutting all of my questions out. Okay. So it's just going to be you as a talking head.
Yeah.
And so when I ask you a question, if I ask you, for example, what your favourite animal is, don't just say it's a tiger, because it's not going to make any sense. Say it like, my favourite animal's a tiger, and I'd like to go from there.
Yeah.
I'm sure you get the idea. But okay, so from the beginning, other thing I should mention, when you're talking about people, try and reference their full name, because the person who's watching this, if you know them, of course, or at least their character name, at least
I can do
some way of referencing it, because
Yeah.
the point is, people who are watching this might not have seen the thing first. Okay, so. But basically, if you would like to introduce yourself as an actor first and introduce the character that you play.
Well, I'm Helen Fullerton, and I play Fanny Dubbs. I think my surname is Dubbs, yes. That would go, yeah. And I'm a little Budleyan chav, which of course you can tell from this accent, can you? Yes. And I have great fun in this. I get to kiss everybody or beat them up, which is fab. Yeah.
Excellent. Okay, and tell me about the film. What's it actually about?
Oh, complicated. A man called William.
If you could phrase the questions like the film is about, so self-contained sentence.
The film is about a man called William who dies and leaves a will. But the will states that his wife and his brother must decide who his fortune is very rich goes to, whether it's the son or the cousin. Because he believed before he died that his wife and brother were having an affair. And so the film works through, my characters are trying to trap them into evidence, so we get to with the cousin. Yes, I think that's as much as I can really say.
Just to clarify something then, you mentioned your characters,
My character.
plural. How many characters do you play?
I play one, but I have another half who's called Nora. And we're sort of twin type things. Well, we're not twins, but we're best mates. So we go everywhere together. But she's not here. But she should be, because I need my Nora.
Okay, and tell me about the relationships between the characters then. Obviously there's a lot of conflict going on because of this will. How do you all feel about each other? Which characters...
The characters feel... Well, my character and Nora, we're after Derek, who's the cousin. Mostly because he's now going to be very rich, and we like a little bit of that. Thank you. I spend most of the film with £500 now, my cleavage, which is great. We don't meet many of the others. We do meet Emma and Curly, who play the wife and brother, but we ignore them because really we're concentrating on making sure this Derek wants us.
Do you think yours is a nice character?
No. My character is not a nice character. She has a great fun, but no, she's not nice. Yeah.
Okay, so obviously the things that Tim was wanting you to do in this script is challenging. Lots of kissing people and beating them up, as you mentioned. Do you want to talk a little bit about both of those?
Both of those. Well, snogging's not hard. Both Derek and Nora. I have to kiss both Derek and Nora at those points. Both all very good acting type people. They don't infringe upon your personal space, although we're snogging. So that was fine. I had to lick poor Derek's ear, though, which wasn't particularly pleasant for either of us, I'm sure. Whilst we were on the bed when this licking scene goes on, so we're all around you, but we've been filmed from above, and Paul, who's the DOP, was standing on the bed, but it was a very wobbly bed. So with this hand I'm molesting Derek, and to the hand I'm holding on to Paul's leg so he doesn't fall off the bed. The beating up, that was great fun. Poor Paul, who plays Derek, must be severely bruised because both of Nora and pummeling the poor man, and we'd shot it about 6 or 7 times. So, but he didn't complain, bless him. Yes, do it again. Bless. I love fight scenes. I do a lot of fighting outside. Anyway, so stage combat mostly, but I do boxing and things like that as well. So I was having a great time. If I can do this fighting, I can do.
I'm sure that's true. Obviously, the way you have presented the character is quite flamboyant. Obviously, if nothing more than just the costume. Is it based on anyone in particular that you know?
It's actually based on a character I played about 5 years ago, who was actually a nice character. She was a Liverpudlian chap with a heart. This one's much more money grabbing, but because I'd done all that background on her, so it was quite easy to transport some of that. And I've been told by Liverpudlians that I do get the accent right. In fact, they ask me which part of Liverpool I come from, so I'm quite pleased with that.
Which part of Liverpool do they say?
They don't say anything, but because I'm afraid I don't know Liverpool very well. Bizarrely enough, I come from Belfast, which has a similarity in accent. I know Northern Irish is very different, but yeah, so it wasn't so hard to shift over, I think.
But it's enough to fool genuine Scousers.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
I'm pleased.
Okay, any anecdotes from the set that you'd like to put on camera?
go back to the bedroom scene. There's a shot that's actually in another room, but you can hear our characters orgasming. But so we just had the sound for that. But all three of us who were making these lovely sounds were sitting in different parts of the bedroom, making these orgasmic sounds, ignoring each other blatantly. I think there is a shot of us doing this, so it might turn up somewhere on the DVD in a room. I think that's.
Okay. And working with other actors here, who do you think gave the best performance, other than yourself, of course?
Oh, I don't know. Emma, who plays the wife, she has a lot of, because she's such a bubbly person, and she's the whole film she's very down and sad. So being as different from your character, I think she did a very good job.
And is it difficult to go from being the person that you are in real life to a character which seems very different from you?
I think it's easier. The further apart you are from the character, and if you're allowed to be over the top, which my character certainly was, it's a lot easier because you're not particularly hiding any of yourself. It's gone. Yeah. So.
Okay. And how did you actually get involved with all of this in the first place?
I applied, I think, through CCP, I'm not sure. And I like the sound of the character, because she's great, bubbly thing. I got the script and I thought, no, this isn't for me, but I'll just turn up the audition anyway. I was told to come in character, which I think probably helped. And Tim laughed all the way through the audition, so yeah, then he said, come along and do it. So obviously I did all right.
That looks good. How's Tim as a director?
I liked him as a director. He's worked out a lot about the background of the characters, although it's not stated in the script. So it's very easy. You take that all on board, and then it's a lot easier to give it out. Yes, it's very good. Good.
I think that's everything I need to know. Anything you'd just like to add, though? Okay. Well, let's call that down then. That's all we're going to do. Thank you very much.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Rolling.
Yeah, we're rolling now.
Now we're rolling. Okay. So, just before we get into some questions, let's explain how we're going to be going about doing this. Maybe a bit different from usual. Basically, first thing is ignore the camera. You're going to be talking to me. Don't need to look at that. It's not even there. But the main thing is, the audience that's going to be watching it may not have even seen the film. Mm-hmm. So for that reason, if you're going to be talking about other characters or other actors or any of the crew at all, if you could use either their full name or just a little clarification of Emma, who plays Shelley, or however you want to approach it. Keep it natural, but basically just keep that in mind. Other thing to keep in mind is that when we edit this together, my voice, we're cutting out. You're just going to be talking head, and you'll just be talking, and of course that means no question. So with that in mind, if I ask you a question, for example, what's your favourite colour?
What is my favourite colour?
Exactly.
Well, let me tell you what my favourite colour is.
What a pro, we can do you more. Fantastic. Exactly like that. Exactly like that. But really that's all. Other than that, keep it fairly natural, just have a bit of a chat. And the questions, just for guidance. If you want to offer any stories, throw them in. That's the point. Absolutely, just keep you talking.
Excellent.
So, from the beginning, if you'd like to introduce yourself as an actor and also the character that you play.
My name is Ian Curley, my real name. The character I'm playing in Willpower is Daniel, who is the brother-in-law of the main character, Shelley, who's played by Emma. So.
Okay, and if you could tell us a little bit about what the story's actually about.
It's basically about Shelley, Emma's character, who has just lost her husband, who's my brother, and he's a bit of a git, to be honest with you, the brother, and he's been manipulative, and he's very rich, and he's not been fantastic to Shelley, and now he's died, and she's a bit upset, but she's also perhaps a little bit glad she's gone, and then things start to go a bit weird when we go seeing solicitors, and there's a bit of tension between the brother-in-law and Shelley, they're very close and everything like that. Are they too close? Who knows? And then drama ensues, and a bit of comedy, quite a bit of comedy actually. So yeah.
That's one thing I was going to ask you about later, actually. The blend between drama and comedy. How did that go?
Well, yeah, I mean, Paul, who's playing Derek, was hilarious. I mean, in character, on set, off set, walking around just in his costume, it was just really quite funny. So the hope is that translates quite well. Derek is the cousin of Daniel and William, who's the brother. So he's a proper character. He's funny. So yeah, it's been really good. I mean, it's very there's very dramatic stuff going on, and broad comedy as well. Ridiculous stuff going on in the back of cars, and again with Derek and some ladies. So yeah, I hope it mixes. I think it should mix, because it's sort of like everything's part of the whole story, rather than, you know, sometimes you see things in the different stories, but this is one story, so it's all, you know, mixes quite well, I think. So should be good.
How much of the character is yourself, and how much is put on?
Well, that's interesting. I mean, the face is me, and I wanted to use my same height, because I think it's a lot better. So sarcastic idiot. Yeah, I mean, I think everything that I do, there's a bit of yourself in it. You know, I've never played Captain Hook, but I would like to think there's a bit of hookage in me if I did. And it's also quite difficult that you always want to cherry pick the best bits. So I think if anyone when they see the film, if and when they see the film, the best bits of Daniel are probably all me. Yeah.
Do you think it's a likeable character that you play?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's quite interesting that the character of William, who's the brother, who's the manipulative brother who's died, who's sort of very relevant to the story. You do see more of him as the story goes on. Like I say, he's a git. You know, we don't like him. Nobody likes him. Daniel, the brother, doesn't like him. The wife, obviously, has married him, loves him, struggles with him, but, you know, doesn't like him. And then it's interesting that Shelley's in a bit of a weird position, that she, you know, she's the nice character, but she's also torn between different worlds, and I think some people might look at it and see her being a bit sort of dismissive of her dead husband. You know, maybe she should be more faithful and true and all that kind of stuff. And some people will be like, yeah, go on, get rid of him, brilliant, fantastic. And then Daniel, I think, who's trying to genuinely be a nice guy. So I think he is very much a bit of a nice guy, a bit volatile, but very protective of Shelley. So any sort of like extremes of emotion are usually utterly justified, because he's being protective and heroic. So I think he's a nice guy. Again, that's probably just from me, you know, what I've brought to the character. Yeah.
Okay, and obviously William's trying to manipulate and create a situation out of what he's done. There's a plan behind it. How do you think he expects Daniel to react to what he's doing?
Ooh, William. I tell you, what you know, he needs a slap. William, played by Pete, bless him, who's people keep saying we look like each other, which I don't see at all, because he's not ruggedly handsome like me. But yeah, he plays the character very well. Really, really nasty. A real bit of a slime ball, to be honest with you. And there's obviously huge conflict between the brothers, which I can really relate to. Having a brother who's just ridiculous and unreasonable, you know, compared to my very passive and positive self. So I did recognise that in the character as well, which is great. It's interesting that Pete, never having met my brother, sort of embodied my brother, you know, being a real git. So it's a very interesting relationship, very sort of, you know, combative. And it's interesting that it doesn't, you know, degenerate into fisticuffs at the end, because it so could easily. But I think that's where all the tension and the drama comes in. So yeah, it's good.
And Daniel obviously has a lot of demons in his personal life as well.
Yeah.
How do you think that affects his relationship to bees?
Yeah, bees. Yeah, I can't forget bees. Yeah, it does. I think. I mean, obviously, there's that divorce lawyer. There's that lawyer thing going on, that solicitor thing going on with bees, and also I think I think the main thing from Daniel, his drive towards bees, that makes him want to slap him once or twice. He does sound like a slapper, and not in that kind of way, but somebody wants to slap people a lot, Daniel. But it's all protective, you know, and that comes from his being protective of Shelley, really. You know, his life's crumbled, he's lost his business and his wife and all that kind of stuff. Daniel. So he's in a bit of a mess. But I think that becomes secondary when he's dealing with Shelley. And it's all about being protective, being a knight in shining armour, or a cheap black suit, as I was on wearing now. So yeah, but bees, he's another slime ball. Bees, yeah. There's quite a few in this film, you know, who should get their comeuppance. And I think they do. So.
And that's talking about the characters, obviously. Talking about your experience as an actor
Yeah.
doing the film. How did you get involved with the film in the first place?
Well, I was in Hollywood when Tim rang my agent. If only that was true. Probably quite often when I get jobs, someone's dropped out. You know, someone can't do it, and then we got this other guy, and he was hit by a bus. So, will you do it? I'm trying to think if it was the case with this one. I don't think it was actually. I might have actually been asked to do this role, which is always a nice change. Although actually, no, I think originally I might have been considered for William. Originally, who's the brother, big slime ball brother. So I think that was Tim's first instinct. Slime ball brother, Ian. Yeah, Ian might be able to do that. And then I think through conversation, actually, probably because Pete couldn't commit to the amount of time that's needed for the filming. That's why, and I could. Thought, I'll get him to do Daniel instead. That's filming most days, and he's got nothing else to do apart from those, you know, big Hollywood commitments. So that's how I got involved. But I mean, I've known Tim, you know, for a few years. I think I've worked with him before. Yes, I have worked with him before. I worked with him years ago on a workshop project with Emma as well, actually. So I worked with him a little bit, and I'm actually working with him on a film I'm doing soon as well. He's working with me, with one or two other people from this crew, which is nice. So that's how I got involved in the film, really.
And how's Tim as a director?
Tim is dictatorial. Mugabe, Mubarak, Gaddafi, Lyman. I mean, they just sit very comfortably together, I think. I do remember one interesting story when we were actually filming. I mean, because obviously Tim wrote the script as well, and there was one of the sequences a couple of days in when we were doing a scene, and the dialogue he writes is just awful dialogue. And I remember we were doing this scene, and he was getting a bit irritated because I was struggling with the words. And I remember saying to him that you can write these words, George, but you can't say them. And I think that came. Tim. You can write. Hang on, that's Harrison Ford actually on Star Wars. Sorry, that's not me. I just read. Sorry, I do get those two confused. Harrison Ford and myself. Tim was when he wasn't drinking, he was a great director. He's fantastic, and I look forward to seeing him in court very soon.
I'm sure that will come up actually. In terms of the other actors, who do you think put in, other than yourself, the best performance?
Without a shadow of a doubt, little Sean, played my nephew. Without a shadow of doubt, was a genius. Quite frankly, a genius. And actually, I'm partly trying to mock and be all sarcastic and put down every other actor who basically just phoned it in, apart from myself, actually. I texted it in, but everybody else was mediocre. So I'm being partly sarcastic, but actually there's a very serious point to this, that he was on the ball all the time. I was so impressed. I genuinely was so impressed. At that age, I couldn't, you know, I mean, it struggled when I was getting in my 20s before I could concentrate on one thing and actually, you know, remember what I'm doing and do it properly and convincingly and naturally. And he's this big, you know, he's a little tiny chap. So he was brilliant, fantastic. If I'm being slightly serious, Paul was very funny as well. I think everybody was fantastic, you know. But it's you got to wait to the edit, I suppose. You always don't want to consider yourself, you know. Don't want to sit here and say I was the best, because that's for everybody else to say.
Fair enough. And any stories from the set? Anything stand out as being an interesting moment you want to talk about?
Stories. I mean, there was the time when I think there was some footage that he put together, and we were looking at the footage just like with the test audience and all that kind of stuff. And it was a sequence of a train coming towards the sort of the lens of the screen, and I remember as everybody was watching it, and they genuinely started screaming, and they were all getting really excited, genuinely thinking that the train was going to come through the screen. It was amazing, and that's when we knew that moving pictures really would work. Well, I've got another one.
As well as that, any genuine ones as well.
Genuine ones. When I was being cast, I remember Chris Lane, who's the director. He had like an office and all that kind of stuff, and we were talking through the character, and he wanted me to do this. There was part of the character that was interested in doing, and there was a bit of a struggle. So I remember I looked down, and I had a bag with me, and I pulled out an Oscar and slammed it on the table like that, and said nothing. And he just sat there, slightly awkwardly, embarrassedly. And I pulled out another Oscar, slammed it on the table, and looked at him like that, again, slightly embarrassed. And then I pulled out the third Oscar that I won. And I said, if you want me in this picture, then basically you'll listen to me and I'll do what I want. And he did, and I think it went from there. Again, that might be Shelley Winters that I'm getting confused. I do mix those two up as well, myself and Shelley Winters. But yeah, stories about this project, yeah. Yeah, lots. It was fantastic. It was really good. Really early hours. I'll tell you what, filming at the house was brilliant. It was a murder mystery house. It was a Poirot house. This was a mansion that basically you wanted to set some Agatha Christie mystery in. It was huge. It was fantastic. Stables and everything. So filming there was brilliant. And the people were there were lovely as well. Really nice. Memories of things I've seen when the dancers came out and William Pete, who plays William, appeared with his little tiny wings. That was good. Watching the ladies with Paul in the back of the car. I think that was a highlight for me on the set, and it's going to be a highlight for the film if they've captured it. So yeah, lots of magical moments. And obviously the end, that was really good as well. So yeah.
Well, I think that's everything we're going to need, but is there anything you'd just like to add? Is there anything
anything I'd like to add? Not really, no. I could give my PIN number in my bank account, because I think...
Okay, about me.
Are we going?
Ready? Go.
I like the bit when she went in the car and I was left in my aunt and uncle. And...
What are the great stuff about me? I'll say the good stuff about you.
The good stuff about you was...
What was with all the thinking?
I can't remember that.
Alright, okay. Right, we should really tell you about our characters. So I was playing your mum. Did I play a good mum?
Yeah.
Yeah. What kind of mum was I?
Good mum.
Well, yeah, I was a good mum.
Acting.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, my character Shelley was quite moody, wasn't she? She was quite distant and always had a face like this. Yeah. Do you remember? Do you remember when we had to do a scene? We had to do a scene where we were running. I get all sad, and I run over to my little boy. Do you remember? And I had to pick you up.
Yeah.
And I was running, and I was really out of breath, and you could see my belly wobbling.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks. And I remember I picked you up, and you went, "Mummy!" Do you remember your line? What was the line?
I don't want to say it.
Because you can't remember it. I can't
remember
He says
it.
he's pretty professional.
You say you're a professional. It was, Mummy, why are you crying? And I wasn't crying. I was out of breath, having a heart attack. Do you remember? Yeah. So what was your best bit of the film? The food. He eats all the food.
Yeah, the food.
Did you ever see the toenail? The toenail. Okay, tell me about toenail. What else? What else did you enjoy?
I enjoy being in the whole film.
Okay. What about funny stories? Have you got anything to tell? Like if you're going to tell a secret about someone on set?
Tell us about the audition. Do you remember? What did you have to do to Timmy?
I liked the bit when it was the end of the audition and I got popped.
You got what? Popped?
Pop?
Pub?
Pub?
You went to the pub?
No.
What kind of audition is this?
No, I got
Yeah.
a drink.
An alcoholic drink?
No.
We had to think
Fizzy
about that
drink.
one. A fizzy drink, yeah.
Oh, pop, right.
Pop! Right, you had some pop, not to the pub.
Now go on then, what happened in the audition? You had some pop.
Yeah, I had to run and then Tim picks me up and then I just had to pretend what school was like. It didn't have to be what I actually did, but just like pretend what I did.
You had to tell them what you would. Oh yeah, that's it. I picked you up and said, "How was your day at school?" And you had to make it up, didn't you?
Yeah.
You did very well, very well. Have you got any questions for me?
Yeah.
Go on. Oh no, go on.
How good do you think you were in the film?
It's a very, very interesting question. Can I answer that one? Can I answer that one? Is that really for me to answer? Actually, all right. You know, did you ever see? There was a scene where I was quite upset, where Shelley was really upset, and I think that was a good scene. I think that went down really well. I was quite upset. It took us a while to get there, and I was booing all over it. And I had snot running down my face. Yeah, and I've still got those snotty tissues. But yeah, I was heartbroken in that scene. Yeah, you'll see it and you'll cry. You'll boo. Do you think you'll boo? You will. You'll boo.
Oh.
Have you got any other questions? That was a good question. How good do you think you were in the film?
Fantastic.
Yeah, you were. You were actually fantastic. Any other questions?
For you.
For me? You go on for me. Go on then.
Yeah. Which one do you think you played the goodest in the? Which scene do you think was the best that you were in?
Probably the crying scene, because the rest of the scenes, my character was very quite minimal. She didn't kind of express any emotion. She was like stone, and that was the only scene where you really see her break, and you see a real person. So yeah. How about you? I'm just copying your questions. I need a really interesting question. If you could change the film in any way, how would you change it?
To make it like a really, 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 really short film, so we can skip through lots of it.
So you didn't have to wait around to make it really, really short. Okay, that's a good one. Right, funny stories. What made you laugh on set?
Nothing.
Nothing? What about hanging out with me and Curly? No? Oh, right, okay. Thanks.
Who's in the film?
Yeah, who's in the film? Who do you remember?
Ian, you, and I think that's it.
No, who does Ian say? Ian Curley plays. Who does Ian play?
Do you remember his name, the character's name?
Daniel.
Well done, yeah.
Ian plays Daniel. And then who else? Do you not remember anybody?
I remember Emma.
Do you remember her?
I hope so. I played your mum.
Yeah.
And what a good mum I am.
Don't touch me.
No, because the promise that we were gonna be Right. Right. Okay, I don't want to speak to you anymore.
A couple more minutes, does that?
What else would you like us to talk about?
Where did you film? Do you remember? Where was that
Okay.
place we filmed?
Yeah, all locations.
Well, in the building,
It was our house.
the house,
What house was it? What was it like, that house?
good.
Could you describe it?
Yeah.
Go on.
Well, it was very big. Had a good garden.
Had an amazing garden. It wasn't a garden, it was a field.
I know.
It was a field.
And they're going to speak about that bit when me and Ian got to play football.
That was good, wasn't it?
Yeah, good.
Would you like to live in that house?
I'd like to have the garden, but not the house.
Yeah, too big to clean. Mind you, it'd be good for hide and seek.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And who does Paul play? Do you remember? Derek. Do you remember Derek? The
Yeah.
silly man.
Yeah, I played Paul.
No, Paul played
Derek.
Yeah.
And who's Derek in the film? Do you like him in the film? Does Sean like him? Does Jack like him?
A little bit.
Do you remember when he was pulling faces at you? What do you think your character was thinking when Derek was pulling all those horrible faces at you?
I don't know.
You know, when you were doing the whole yeah.
I don't know.
Think he was being mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was, wasn't he? Do you think he was after your cash?
By the way, I have more cash than anybody in this house.
But in this house, in this room right
I
now?
have 19,000.
Yeah, you probably did get paid more than anyone else on set.
Yeah, I got paid.
Right, that's it. I'm making a phone call.
I think that from the beginning, if you'd like to introduce yourself as an actor and say which character you play.
Well, my name is Emma Kenny, and I'm playing Shelley in Willpower. Just in case you didn't know.
Excellent. And tell me a little bit about what the film is about. What's the script about?
Oh God, how can I describe this script without actually giving it away? Okay, well I'm playing a character, Shelley, who is the wife of a man called Will, and unfortunately Will dies in an accident, and the story is about how Shelley has to make a decision.
Sorry, we just.
I was just thinking,
I
it's one we
wasn't
didn't mention.
Sorry,
Yes,
sorry.
Talk to me.
We
roll the
forgot
camera.
to say.
We'll do it that way, so I didn't say that.
No,
You're
no
very
worries.
right.
You're alright.
But no, that's fine. We'll start again. But yes, you're right. Talk to me. Absolutely.
I didn't mean to piss on your bonfire, Emma.
Better
It's
to
alright.
than do 10 minutes and go.
No,
back.
it's right.
But no, absolutely. From the beginning,
Okay.
introduce yourself as an actor.
Well, my name is Emma Kenny, and I'm playing a character called Shelley in the film Willpower. The character Shelley is she's the wife of a man called Will, who unfortunately has an accident, and the film is about how Shelley is going to deal with this and how she's going to deal with the money situation, because she married money, but we discover quite a lot about how she felt about this man, and without giving it away, we also maybe suspect that she's not as innocent as we might think. Yeah.
Okay. And obviously, the character that you play seems to be fairly down throughout the film, very sort of subdued, which is clearly in contrast with your regular self.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Tim asked me to play this character, and I was like, brilliant, great, we'll make it really funny. And no, he didn't want any of that. Every time I said, what about she falls over here, and he didn't want me to move. He wanted me to be the straightest person in the whole piece. So then when it comes to the edit and the music, it will really have that nice contrast of maybe that dramatic over the top.
If you'd like to introduce yourself as an actor and say which character you play.
Well, my name is Emma Kenny, and I'm playing Shelley in Willpower. Just in case you didn't know.
Excellent. And tell me a little bit about what the film is about. What's the script about?
Oh God, how can I describe this script without actually giving it away? Okay, well I'm playing a character, Shelley, who is the wife of a man called Will, and unfortunately Will dies in an accident, and the story is about how Shelley has to make a decision.
Sorry, we just.
I was just thinking,
I
it's one thing we
wasn't
didn't mention. No,
Sorry,
yes,
sorry.
Talk to me.
We
Will
forgot to
Camera.
say-
We'll do it that way, so I didn't say
Sure.
that.
No,
You're
no
very
worries.
right.
You're alright.
But no, that's
Sorry.
fine. We'll start again. But yes, you're right. Talk to me. Absolutely.
I didn't mean to piss on your bonfire, Emma.
Better to
alright.
better than do 10 minutes and go.
No,
back.
it's right.
But no, absolutely. From the beginning,
Okay.
introduce yourself as an actor.
Well, my name is Emma Kenny, and I'm playing a character called Shelley in the film Willpower. The character Shelley is she's the wife of a man called Will, who unfortunately has an accident, and the film is about how Shelley is going to deal with this and how she's going to deal with the money situation, because she married money, but we discover quite a lot about how she felt about this man, and without giving it away, we also maybe suspect that she's not as innocent as we might think. Yeah.
Okay. And obviously, the character that you play seems to be fairly down throughout the film, very sort of subdued, which is clearly in contrast with your regular self.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Tim asked me to play this character, and I was like, brilliant, great, we'll make it really funny. And no, he didn't want any of that. Every time I said, what about she falls over here, and he didn't want me to move. He wanted me to be the straightest person in the whole piece. So then when it comes to the edit and the music, it will really have that nice contrast of maybe that dramatic, over-the-top, melodramatic music, and then my face, which is the same in every shot. I did watch it and think, oh my god, I don't move. Except for the scene where when we see Shelley break for the first time. And that's what I wanted. I wanted Shelley to come over as someone we didn't really trust. There was something else going on there. She'd lost a lot of herself. And then this scene where Daniel is talking to her, and you suddenly see her break down, and you see Daniel speak to her in a certain way that is almost like her husband used to speak to her, and you see that vulnerable side to her and why she is probably slightly withdrawn from the world.
And obviously, the relationship with Daniel, there is chemistry. What do you think she sees in Daniel?
He's always been very supportive towards Shelley. He knows what his brother's like, and probably doesn't really understand why I married him. Maybe he thinks that it was a security thing, but he's seen me Shelley from the beginning and what she was like, and then over the years he's seen her slowly be chipped away and become this shell, and then when he sees her break, he has to pull her back together, and that jolts her into seeing her husband. Yeah.
And talk about the conflicted feelings about her husband. I mean, she's obviously in two minds about it. How did you tie that into one character?
Well, when me and Tim were talking about Shelley, he wanted her. She's such a vulnerable character. It's the kind of character I would never normally go for, because she's such a wet lettuce. You know, if I personally was in that position, I would have walked away ages ago. But she's stuck, and she's not strong enough, and the situation that she's thrown into when her husband passes away is that she has to make a decision. Suddenly, she's forced to make this decision, to change her life, and she finds the power to do that. But it's only because that's it, she's got two choices. But if he was still alive, I don't know if she would have ever left. I think she was. We saw Shelley as quite a big drinker, so yeah, I think she would have died inside. Yeah.
Okay. And the character that it ended up being, not necessarily the character that it started as. How did you develop it during the shooting process?
It's the character that you see, Shelley. You see a certain side of Shelley, but only because of the way the story is manipulated. And then at the end, it's like seeing someone else's point of view. You judge her straight away, but then when you see what she's actually been put through, then I think your opinion will completely change.
Okay. And obviously that's as an actor, but you weren't just an actor on this, were you? You were associate producer as well. What made you take that on also?
I wasn't a producer. I know. It says I was a producer. Yeah. It was basically everyone's running around flapping. Tim's losing his hair, and I said, "Can I help? What can I do?" And he said, basically, because I work in a lot of theatres and stuff, I could get hold of dancers and choreographers. So he asked me to have a look at Act 3. So that's the bit that I help produce. So it was just helping get the dancers in, choreographer, and auditions and venues and things like that. So I wasn't solely on my own. It was just for Act 3 because we broke it down because they were so different. Act 1, Act 2, Act 3. Not that you would normally do that for a film, but we did that because they were just so different. Yeah.
And obviously in Act 3, it's complex. You've got a lot of different things going on at the same time. It's a big number.
Yeah.
Any element of too many cooks after a while? Were there a lot of people trying to get their own influence on the way it was going? How did it work out?
During the final scenes, where it's all singing and dancing, I didn't have any involvement in that. I was purely the actor when it came to doing that scene. I wasn't producer then. We had a lot of people on set, and it worked quite well. It was really busy. Obviously, you've got all your dancers, you've got your choreographer, but everything was well timed. Everyone worked really well. We had a really tight deadline, and everyone knew it, so everyone just had their professional heads on and just carried on. So not a case of too many cooks. It was it was quite slick. Well, it was to me. I was just stood there looking all miserable, so I was just watching. Yeah.
Okay. Any stories, anecdotes that came from it? Anything that might be interesting?
What do I remember? What do I remember from the film? Stories. I remember lots of sleeping. Yeah, I sound really professional. The toenail. I'm sure you've heard about the toenail. Yeah, the toenail was a prop that Tim Lyman grew on his right foot and used as a prop in the film, and this toenail kept going everywhere. It was landing in people's drinks. I think Paul had it in his mouth, and then we lost it and we had to make a new one. And then it would turn up in someone's dinner. Yeah, a real toenail. It's disgusting. I'm sure it's still about. Other funny stories? Well, Ian Curley can tell you a few. God, he's disgusting on set. Jeez. When the cameras are rolling or they're off and we're just stood there, you should, ask him about that. That should be a question for Ian Curley. What a pervert.
Going back to the toenail, I hear there was a stunt toenail. There was a replacement one from someone else. Do you know about that?
Because the toenail kept going missing all the time, we had to create a new one. And it was a stunt toenail, and it was made out of, I think it was made out of a plastic cup, just the plastic coffee cups. I think we had a few, and it took us ages to carve it into the right shape, and I think that one went missing as well. Yeah, but I don't know what they did with it.
Okay, I suppose the other thing would be, this was a self-funded project. This has come from money out of, I think no funding behind it. Obviously you've got a lot of professional actors there. Why did you all get involved with the project, even though it wasn't a paid one?
I got involved with this project. Tim Lyman came over to me, and we were in a pub, and he told me about his project, and he said that he'd be interested in me auditioning, and I really enjoy working with Tim. I've known Tim a long time, and I think when you work with Tim, you're bound to get something good back. And because this project, no one was being paid, everyone just put their heart and soul into it. They gave up a lot of time, and obviously people want to get something out of it. Just obviously the experience, meeting new people, and it's a learning curve for actors to watch themselves back and try a different character. And I do tend to play the more comic characters, but he wanted me to play this mother who was just so far removed from who I was that's why I took it on, but resisted at times because I wanted to make it a little bit different, but which was good for me because he kind of whipped me into shape and told me what he wanted. But we all had a lot of fun, and I think a lot of people gained a lot of experience and a lot of contacts, and I'll look forward to seeing everyone again.
How did you find working with Sean?
How did I find working with Sean? Me and Sean, we're like that. He doesn't hate me at all. He doesn't punch me. He doesn't call me chubby every time I walk into the room. No, me and Sean we've had some fun. We just played games. It's great. As soon as the camera goes off, we're running around playing Tig. And then camera on, and I'm being all sad and saying I love you. And he can't really take me seriously. And he pulls his face like. But yeah, it was lovely working with Sean. He's a good little actor. He's very charismatic.
Great. Anything you'd like to add? Just stories you'd like to put on the end here?
I feel that maybe I could say a few last words about maybe, oh God, let me think. Oh God, I could say something about. I really wish I had to think about this one. Could I say something
What was
funny?
it like working with Ian and Paul? Can you talk about them a bit?
Yeah, we haven't talked about Ian and Paul. Yeah.
Okay.
And the other members of that, obviously we talked about Sean. What about the other members of the cast and crew?
I've worked with a few of the actors before. I know Ian Curley. I've known him for years, so we feel really, really comfortable together. So we don't really there were so many moments where we were very intimate, and we don't feel uncomfortable. So it was really nice, and it was nice to work with him again because we've not worked together for quite a long time. Other actors that I was working with, like Paul. I've not worked with Paul before, and it was nice. We didn't actually have any direct contact. He was just always, we didn't have any dialogue together. But it was nice to work with a character that was quite bold and big and comical, and seeing how it would come over with me playing it quite straight. But we've just had a good laugh. Everyone's quite relaxed, laid back. Yeah, typical actors. Yeah.
I think that is more than enough. That's perfect.
Could I just get one more?
Oh, sorry, what's one?
No, just about the locations, like the big house. And
Okay,
the,
yeah.
Is that alright?
Locations, yes. Locations.
Discuss.
Some of the locations that we filmed on were really cool. The house that was my house, that was nice. Really, really nice. There was like a knight in the corner. Beautiful grounds, lovely. I can't think of any other set that we worked on. Wow, I'm rubbish. Oh, church. And the one in Preston, which is for the final scene, which I won't talk about because I don't want to ruin the film.
Talk about the church, because I heard there was something to do with wedding bells going off whilst you were filming.
Oh, that's always happening. It's always happening when we're filming and bells go off or sirens, because we did some filming in Salford. I love you, Salford. But there were moments where, Nina, wait, move it, we're doing. So we had to cut and do it again, and bells going off for hours on end. But that's just all part of filming. Yeah.
Any major problems that nearly weren't resolved? Anything that really threw a curveball at you?
There were a few major dramas, but I don't know if Tim's going to be okay with me saying it, so I will. Yeah, we were doing a shot, and it was the end scene, and it was quite a long take, and I think the take was something like, it felt like 10 minutes, but I'm sure it was like 3. But everyone was quite still, and it's the moment where the big reveal, and the lights were really bright, and the cast members started to collapse, and everyone was. Nobody moved. Yes, this girl collapsed. I don't know who she was. She was in there, and I won't say what part she was playing because I don't want to ruin anything. But she collapsed, and then someone else collapsed, and then Tim was running around stressing and pulling out his hair, and then the lights ended up blowing a fuse, so all the actors went to sleep, while all the techies ran around. Sorting it out. God, yeah, we were really behind that day. That was actually a bit of a drama. But I like drama, so I quite enjoyed it. Don't tell Tim that.
I think that's
That's
more than
loads,
fine. That's absolutely perfect. That was the thing.
Yes.
Go. So, if you'd like to start by introducing yourself as an actor and the character that you play as well.
Yeah, my name's Paul Green, and I'm playing the part of Derek in Willpower.
Fantastic. And tell us a little bit about Willpower. What's it actually about?
Well, it's about a will, ultimately, which is being contested between the wife of the departed, the brother of the departed, the child of the departed, and the cousin, which is me, of the departed.
And tell me a bit about your actual character. What's he like?
Oh, well, Derek is... treats life a bit of a joke, really. He's a bit of a schemer, skiver. He'll do whatever it takes not to conform to society. He likes to live for free, not work, party, and visit women of the night. Let's just say.
Well, let's go straight on to that bit then. Has Tim asked you to do anything unusual during this?
Oh, have I been asked to do anything unusual during this? Yeah, just a few things. Nipple clamps was one, but they had to stick them on me because how anyone wears them, in all honesty, I just don't know. The pain for the first couple of seconds was just unbearable, so they had to be taped on in the end. I was asked to eat salmon, which I detest. It's just, fishy. But I had salmon combined with caviar, and I know they say caviar's like for upmarket people with a lot of money as a treat. If you're treating yourself to that, you need a word with yourself, to be honest, because it's just disgusting. It is, and I'm putting it out there. Caviar is hanging, and if you eat it, you need your head tested. Because I nearly threw up a few times during that shoot. One good.
Now, I hear tell that you were asked to go off and find a quiet corner with some young ladies and spread some lipstick. Do you want to tell us about that?
Yeah, we had a little snogging session in the corner so we could evenly spread the lipstick and get us used to each other. Yeah, it was interesting.
Did it work?
Yeah, it worked. I think we got his sleaziness across in the scenes. Well, I hope we have. And yeah, I've never been that close to my fellow actors before.
And well, yeah. How did you get along with the other actors on there? Did anyone stand out as being a good actor or anything?
I think everyone's good. I think everyone's really pulled the weight in this cast and crew. I think I've really enjoyed working on this project. I hope to work with many of the people concerned again.
How did you get involved in the first place?
I was actually invited to a read-through. My agent phoned me and said there's a read-through going on for this film, Willpower. So I attended the read-through, and it was just a read-through. So when we finished, I asked if there'd be any chance that I could audition. A couple of weeks later, I got a phone call to audition. I done my audition, didn't think much of it myself. I thought I was quite rusty that day. And I got a call back off Tim, which I was delighted with.
What do you think about the script when you first got it?
During the read-through, I thought the character of Derek was just screaming at me. I thought, this is something I could do, and this is something I want to do. So that's why I pulled Tim to the side after the read-through and just put my case forward for that character, and it worked.
So you pitched to him the other way around?
Yeah, in a way. I just said, is there any chance of an audition? Could you keep me in mind? And it worked.
Okay. The original character that he'd written, was that the exact character that you played, or did it evolve over it?
I've spoke to Tim about this. He said that the way I took the character was unexpected for him, but he liked the way I took it. I've done it a bit more laid back and to really emphasise that laziness that it's about and arrogance, really.
Did you base it on anyone for inspiration? Anyone you know?
There's a few people I actually know, which won't mention any names, that I've pinched a few bits from. Tim sent me like photos of people, like there's rock stars in there. There was someone who he knows, who I don't want to mention their name, and he sent me the picture, and they had the hat and the old they had the whole check shirt thing going on, so that helped a lot.
And obviously your character Derek, quite colourful, possibly quite questionable in his motives.
Yeah.
Do you think an audience will like him?
I thought about this, and even though he comes across quite disgusting and no really respect for himself, underneath it all he does care about other people. Just people take him like he don't care about himself, the way he lives, his hygiene or anything like that, so how can he possibly care about? But later on in the film you get to find out that he does actually care about certain people and about what his actions do to people. So I think he redeems himself by the end of the film.
Good, okay. And do you think Derek has any inclination as to why William has included him in this will? Do you think he knows?
Because I think William included him in the will because as children they were quite close. Derek would be the one who had the catapults, the pellet guns, all the things that the character of William told him not to do. Derek would have the means and the ways of doing them things, going on abandoned railway tracks and stuff like that. So I think they had a good relationship. It's just as they got older they grew apart.
Okay. And how do you think the other characters feel about Derek?
I think they're disgusted by him. I think they question his motives. I think they just find him really offensive.
All right. One thing that I'm not sure you know about, and I think I'd like to know if you do, is that apparently the head of the theatre school thought that you were making a porn film. Discuss.
Thought I was making a porn film? Well, I'm not aware of this at all. No. I'm not aware of this.
Apparently so. Apparently it was nearly cancelled because after the first thing they thought you were making a porn film. So to ask you why. Why that might be.
Oh, right. God, it was probably because of the scanty little clad ladies he had with me and the way I was dressed and the way some of the noises I was making. Are we talking about the apartment?
Well, no, that's the other one. Yeah, this is the theatre school.
I think that was more. Yeah, that was to Timmy. That was for
That was
some
to
reason.
Timmy.
I don't know why.
But he said to us.
Oh right, okay.
Kind of curious myself, to be honest. That's a hell of a porn film, if it is. All right. So, in terms of the actual process of making the film, then not about the characters, but your experience of it. How did you find it? Did you have a good time?
I had a really good time. I enjoyed every aspect of it. It was long, as people know, making films is a long, arduous process, but it was made easy by the cast and crew we had around me. I had a really good time, really enjoyed it.
Yeah. And certainly it was a self-funded film. It wasn't funded by anyone else. So I mean, you were working essentially for expenses. You know, as an actor. What did you get from the film if it wasn't money?
The experience, really, and I think the experience is invaluable. To have an experience on something like this, something well made and well organised such as this, you just can't. It's hard to get that experience as a struggling actor trying to look for good projects to do, and I think I landed on one, and I'm really proud of what we've all done together.
What do you think of the locations that you got there?
I thought the locations was really good. I was really impressed with the apartment we were in, the church where we done the final scene with the dancing ladies and everything. I was really impressed by all aspects of the production.
Was that final scene difficult in any way?
Not for me, because I just got to watch all the scantily clad ladies dancing about. Quite enjoyed that day, and my scenes weren't too heavy in that. It was just comic relief, I'd say, for most of my scenes. So yeah. Oh, I took a bit of a beating that day as well. That was probably the hardest thing. I had 2 women battling lumps out of me, so that was quite difficult, but fun at the same time.
Was there anything about the process of doing it that you'd change? Anything you would have done differently?
Not really. There's nothing that comes to mind. No, nothing at all, really. I enjoyed every aspect of it.
Oh, fantastic. Any stories from the set? Anything you'd like to add as anecdotes? Anything funny?
I said the nipple clamps stand out. The old thing with the salmon and the caviar. So I struggle to bring myself to say the word because it's absolutely foul. I think they was the main bits for me.
Okay. Anything you'd just like to add?
What was it like working with Timmy? That was what I was going to ask.
Oh, that's what we're going to... Yeah, working with the crew. How did the crew work out?
Well, the crew was great and Tim's direction was great. Tim directs in a way where he'll let you do how you feel the scene should be done. And then he'll add pointers and you'll do it his way. And then eventually we get to a point where we're both satisfied with what's been put on camera. And I found it really easy to work with Tim. He's very laid back but very observant and knows what he's talking about basically. And very good to work with.
And regarding the other actors, anyone stand out as being really good?
Yeah, I thought the little boy was excellent. I thought for the 6-year-old, his concentration and the way he took direction was, for the 6-year-old, was phenomenal. I thought he carries himself like he's a lot older. I was very impressed with him.
Good.
That's
Anything you need
cool.
to ask?
No, that's great.
We all
We've
good?
got loads, yeah.
Fantastic, that's brilliant. That's absolutely
Excellent.
fantastic. The first thing we should do is just introduce yourself and tell us your role within the film.
Yeah, my name's Tim Wyman, and I am the writer and director, stroke producer of Willpower. Yeah, and just general pain in the ass for everybody else who is on this film, really.
Fantastic. And if you could tell us what the film is actually about to start, that'd be great.
The film revolves around 2 central characters, Shelley and Daniel, who've just received some unfortunate news that Shelley has lost her husband and stroke Daniel's lost his brother. And the story then kind of like goes on to the will that he's left behind and the money that he's left and who that is going to go to, and they find out through various means that that the money isn't going to his wife and brother and family directly, that he's left it to the wife and the brother to decide who the money goes to, but not necessarily to them, or so we think. So there's a bit of ambiguity there as to where the money might end up. And it's just about their relationships with each other and how the money will affect their relationships with each other, and will they end up fighting over the money and so on. But there's a lot more to it than that. There are various elements that kind of arise through the telling of the story that as a result of all that going on. So without giving too much away. So yeah.
Perfect. And we know that this script has had many different drafts before it got to the final shooting draft. Can you tell me how it actually started in the first place? What was your original idea?
Well, the original idea actually came from a chap called Mike Holdsworth, who I worked with on a film I did a year or 2 ago called New Blood, and he played one of the mafia bosses, a boss in the film. Anyway, and he basically approached me afterwards with an idea, and at the time I was working on a feature project I've been doing for a long time. So when he asked me about it, I wasn't overly interested in kind of pursuing another project, because I just, I'd been committed to this other project for quite a long time. But then when we started talking about it and coming up with characters to the situation, I don't know, it started to kind of grow, and we were in the pub at the time, and as these kind of ideas came out about how to kind of play out the concept and the characters' relationships with each other, it was then, or shortly thereafter, I kind of became quite committed to the idea, and so without wanting to kind of pursue it wholly, I wrote a sort of draft, a very early draft of the project, and sent it over to him. And Mike's a teacher, so he's very, very busy, and he okayed it, and he said, oh, that's quite interesting, and we kind of bashed out a couple of ideas, but again, because he's quite busy, he just kind of left it to me. It was quite nice, actually, because he gave me a lot of creative freedom to just kind of follow through the idea, and he actually said, that this is an idea I've had, but I don't necessarily own this idea, so, if you like it, take it away with you, and you can do what you like, But then after a while, I just sort of, took it fully on board, and I thought, it'd be quite fun to do, quite ambitious, but yeah, it could be good. But yeah, the drafts as well, they changed over time. The earliest draft, there was there's quite a few more characters. Daniel's wife did make an appearance in the story. In the story at the moment, Daniel's wife is sort of talked about, but you don't actually see her. And the situation was just very different, and it's just the progression you make when you're writing a story. Like, some ideas kind of come on board, and then sometimes they're thrown out the window. Like, for example, there's a scene where an egg rolls off a table, and that just came out like a bolt of lightning out of nowhere, and various other things. Like, there's a scene again in the kitchen later on, and that was just a scene. I don't know. You don't know where these ideas come from, but they just kind of come naturally as you kind of writing process over time, and it kind of grows and changes. But the original draft was about 30 pages, so I tried to trim it down, and I did. I got it to about 15 pages, but it was just all plot driven, and that's all it was. It was just bang, 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 end, and you kind of want to give it a bit more time than that. And I remember chatting with a friend of mine who I've known for a while, who directs for a living, and I was asking him his advice, because he kind of has a background in theatre as well, because I was really torn about where to go with it, because half an hour can be a bit of an awkward length. And he said, Tim, just follow your instinct, and I thought, yeah, okay. And I was a bit scared to kind of do it at first, but I thought, you know what, sod it, just go for it. And that's when I just basically went completely the other way, and I just made it as long as it needed to be to give the characters justice and the stories justice. I just didn't really want to kind of sell the story and the characters short by limiting myself to time and, resource and stuff. So yeah, it's quite an interesting project like that, really.
Do you think it's been successful taking it to this length of time? Do you think that's worked out?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I think the length of the film is sort of irrelevant, really. I think people, hopefully, will enjoy it for the story that's being told. I mean, there's a lot of limitations. Like, you have to make a short film or you have to make a feature. You can have this grey area in between. But I don't really see it like that. Maybe I should, but I don't. For me, it's all about having a project and having a story to tell. And if you feel strongly enough about wanting to make something, you shouldn't let limitations hold you back. All too often. I mean, this is part of the reason why I kind of pushed ahead with the project, was because I spend too long worrying about what other people think about what I'm doing. So it's nice to actually, just knock that on the head and just say, no, I'm just going to go ahead with it, and we'll work it out later. I enjoy the process of, directing and writing and working with actors and doing that, and that's what it's about for me, of course, we'll attempt to kind of do something with it once we're finished. Otherwise, what's the point? But we'll deal with that as we're going along through post-production, which we're going through at the moment. So we've already got some ideas about what we'd like to do with it. So.
Okay, so as you are refining this film to be in its perfect, obviously you are very close to the material because you are emotionally, financially, creatively involved with it. This is your baby. How does it feel when people maybe it doesn't go to plan and things don't go as you expected at first?
Well, I think anyone who's making a project of this, well, just any project really, whether it be short or a couple of minutes, you've got to anticipate things are going to change. Or adapt, with this film, there were a lot of compromises and changes made along the way, but in a way, they felt compromising at the time, but kind of looking at the edit now, I think we made some really good decisions based on time and pressure and resources, because obviously people are giving up a lot of their free time and, and being very generous with their insight and their creativity, which I was very blessed. I felt very blessed really, because everyone who came on board, because it was such a big project, they they kind of invested in it, which was just a really nice feeling. Because sometimes, because you're so busy in some other areas, you don't have time to kind of wander around and kind of see other things that are going on. And for example, when we were shooting something in Act 3, and I was busy just directing elsewhere, but in the same scene, something else was going on at the other side of the room, which I didn't have time to do, and someone spotted that, and instead of just coming to me and saying, "Oh, Tim, you need to be doing that over there," they knew that I'd like to feel that they trusted me, or I trusted them enough to just go ahead and do what needed to be done in order to get it going, and if any changes needed making, then I could step in and kind of suggest them. Luckily in that instance, I didn't really need to. It was it kind of just worked itself out. But yeah, in answer to your question, the compromises have to be made and changes have to be made as you're going along. But I think if you've got a good team around you who feel as passionate in the project as you do and are willing to kind of put their own mark in it, or invest their creativity, I don't see it as such a big kind of sacrifice. And the thing is, in this case, in a lot of ways, the compromises and changes that made were improvements. So I think that anyway.
And certainly, the team that you've had to help you with that has been strong. Would you like to talk about maybe the contributions of Kate and Chris as producers?
Yeah, Kate and Chris have been absolutely fundamentally instrumental in getting this thing off the ground and to the stage that it is at the moment. Chris kind of came in quite late in the stage. I'll come back to that, but Kate actually, she was one of the first collaborators, and I think when the project sort of got to that point where I needed to get it off the ground, I saw a Facebook message that Kate put online, because she'd been busy kind of organising getting married and sorting out her personal life, and that was kind of her project last year or the year before, and she said, "Oh yeah, I'm looking for a project. This is on a wall, I'm looking for a project. Anyone interested?" And it's kind of that moment where you think, "Oh, should I? Shouldn't I? Is it ready? Is it not?" Oh, sorry. I just say, "Yes, Kate, I've got a project. Do you fancy getting involved?" And then pretty much from that point onwards, she was fully on board, and she has been literally from the word go. She's been a great rock from start to this point here. She's brilliant at scheduling. She's good with people, and just really supportive. And I think that's what I personally really needed. We had a couple of hiccups on the way in production, just getting the right people involved. But then about 2 months before we were due to start, Chris, he just finished on a film called The Watcher, and I asked him at one of the screenings, if he'd be interested in coming on board to do a short, and how can I explain it? He basically said he was interested, but it just kind of stopped at that, and then I was just kind of my typical sort of pushy self and said, "Right, we're having a meeting, come to the meeting," and sort of surreptitiously, is that the right word? Anyway, but he sort of came on board, you know, by me kind of like just nitpicking a bit, coming to these meetings, and I don't think he was even aware that he was going to be taking on a producer role. At least that's what I've been told. But I thought I told him, but then again, my memory's rubbish these days. So yeah, so he came on board, and he did. He was supposed to be just involved in locations. We were going to split, you know, production responsibilities between me, Kate, Chris, and Emma Kenny. But then, yeah, when Chris came on board, he kind of does that great thing that Chris does, that he just sees the job's doing and he just gets on with it. And you know, and he said that, you know, when he saw his name in an email saying he was producer, he immediately started thinking like a producer and just getting on with it. But yeah, I mean, to be fair, like the whole production team, I mean, it's not just Kate and Chris. I mean, it's Ed Rastelli, Chris Leonard, Emma Kenny. I hope I haven't missed anyone out there, but I mean, everyone's been instrumental in pulling it off, because, like I said, it was just such a big project, you know. So yeah.
Good. And that's obviously the production side of it. Let's talk about the cast that you managed to pull together, because you've got some very strong actors there.
Yeah, definitely.
And obviously you were doing this by favours mostly, or at least on a very tight budget. How did you actually go about casting and persuading them to do it?
Well, in the early days, the casting, I kind of had a few people in mind. Well, Mark Pickering, for instance, I had in mind very early on. In a way, I guess the part of P.C. Sudbury was almost written for him, you know, because I knew his range as an actor, because I've known him for a long time. But yeah, the part of Shelley, you know, was pretty much written for Emma as well. And she, well, I've always wanted to kind of work with Emma anyway, and yeah, I think I think it was quite a challenge for Emma, actually, this film, because I mean, she's very, very versatile as an actress, but usually she's very good comedy actress, and I think that this was quite challenging for her. It was interesting to see her kind of come in and do this, because she had the part, but when she came into audition, anyway, she kind of just came in to read for the part, and you could tell, you know, she has that range that I've never seen her tapped into. So it was just really nice to kind of see her tap into that. Oh crikey! Yes, I mean, it is pulling favours, but I think that's just reflective of just the Northwest mentality. We do this film event called Filmonic, where everyone sort of gets together, and once a year they do a thing called a cabaret, where everyone sort of descends in sort of like a studio stroke lab space and gets and makes films, and we kind of brought that spirit into this, and so in that sense, I mean, not just crew, of course, but cast, crew cast. I mean, pretty much everyone, you know, we kind of knew through our little network of filmmakers in Manchester. And it's the same for the cast as well. I mean, most of the people we know in the cast are through Filmonic, or the people I've known in the past. Yeah, I mean, there were a few people who we who we chanced upon, you know, which, you know, is great. Paul, who played Derek, he came in to do a test reading for us, actually, like very early on when we were still working on the script, and I just wanted to hear what the script sounded like. And he came in to read for Derek, and his reading was so strong that, you know, you start to kind of think about that person in that character. And so when he came into audition, his audition was so strong, and yeah, and then pretty much after that there was no one else that could do it, really. So it's like, yeah, of course, yeah, you got it. And then the other one, notable one, is Stevie, who plays Mr. Bees, and it was funny, actually, because when he came in, the part was, well, the role of Mr. Bees was written as a sort of Derek Acora sort of wannabe, or at least that's the way his character was presented in terms of mild Scouser accent and so on. And Stevie came in, and of course he's very broad Australian, and when he started reading for the part, I stopped him and asked him to. Well, I kind of pre-warned him anyway that I would do this, but I said, look, just do it in your normal accent. I want to kind of see, you know, and after he did that, you know, again, I was pretty much sold. I just said, right, okay, cool. So I went away afterwards and rewrote the part to kind of accommodate his character. So, not rewrite the part, but just rewrite his character profile, you know, of his background and where he came from, and so on to kind of accommodate his strengths and play up to his strengths, you know, because his performance is just so dry and deadpan that, again, yeah, it's just kind of tapping into that and trying to use that to your advantage. And yeah, he was great. I really love his performance. It's funny as hell.
Great. Okay, so let's actually talk about what was happening on set on the actual shoots. Any particular highlights of it that stood out? Anything particularly memorable?
Yeah, I guess it's hard to pin down because it was all a highlight for me because I've wanted to shoot something like that for ages. A couple of things, but for different reasons. The first weekend shoot was a great time, just because we were getting started, but also because we were in a lovely location and we had a gorgeous weather throughout, which felt very blessed really, because how erratic English weather can be. But yeah, the weather was amazing, and that was at Lim Hall. And it was just funny because because when you start in that first kind of bout, you start to see the story kind of take shape and the characters interact, and again, because of the way I work anyway, or the way I've worked on this, even though the script was down, I didn't really, sometimes I didn't really stick to it, we kind of went off tangents, or we tried out new things, or if something wasn't working, which in a couple of cases that did happen, we get people to put their mark on it and let us know what they think about it. And I guess that's kind of a highlight, actually, working with other people and finding your own work pattern with other actors and crew members, and see what they see, and hear what they have to say about what you're doing, I guess the big highlight was like the final shooting weekend, when everything kind of came together. Hindsight's a wonderful thing, because I can sit here now and kind of say what a great time it was. Admittedly at the time it was very, very stressful, but no, hindsight is a wonderful thing, because I do look back on that specific weekend with. Can I talk about Act 3? I guess I can, can't I?
Sure.
Yeah, because it was Act 3, and because we'd been building up to this kind of one moment. Everything, it was almost like two projects really, because we've been building up to kind of Act 1 and 2 and doing that, but concurrently while that was going on, we were planning for Act 3, which was quite an undertaking. Dancers, lights, set, props, we had to have a coffin built and a set built, and oh god, it's just all these things kind of going on at the same time while we were. It was almost like I said, it was almost like doing two projects at the same time. And so when we were doing Act 3, everything kind of came together, and yeah, oh wow, it was just really nice to see. And I remember when the dancers came on for the first time, and they're all in the costume and everything, and the makeup girls have done a really good job in sprucing them up, and the costumes as well, which I swear they hated me for, but they looked awesome in them anyway, and they got up and they did their routine for us, and it was like, wow, crikey, look, it was one of those step back moments, and you kind of look at it and you're like, whoo, holy cow, right? This is, the pinnacle of what we've achieved on this project, kind of getting everyone together, and there they are dancing, and everyone's going on. And it's like, right, okay, great, let's shoot this, let's go for it, and they got on stage, and then we kind of, and that was a really good day, actually. I really enjoyed that, just kind of seeing all that going on. But yeah, overall, the broad spectrum of the project, I loved the whole thing, and again, like I said, hindsight, and I'm sure I'll look back in years to come and say, wow, look at what we did with like next to no budget, with very little resources, and what can be done. And just working with great people, I think that's what I've really taken away from this.
Okay. And certainly a few of the actors have mentioned that they enjoyed working with you as a director because you've actually had a background in acting beforehand.
Oh, okay.
Now, what do you think you have as a director that helps them in those situations?
Coming at it as a director from an acting point of view, I guess with my background, I've had I did a lot of theatre when I was younger, and especially improv. I really enjoy improvisation and skits and so on. But again, because I come from a technical kind of standpoint as well, it's that thing that I can't help kind of doing other people's jobs. But yeah, but I just enjoy working with actors really. 'Cause I guess, you know, from the age of 8 up to the age of, I don't know, 21, you know, I was always kind of involved in theatre and acting and doing plays and stuff. And I guess I like to think you know, I can give time for the actors to try and get into their character, just because I kind of understand it. I wouldn't say I know a lot about it. I mean, I studied theatre at A level. I didn't do very well, but again, I come from it from a practical standpoint. So I just really like that. And I guess it's nice as well just to kind of come back to it, you know, even as a director with a technical sort of take on things as well, that I can actually kind of utilise both to kind of get a result and work and just work with actors again, because I don't really get that much chance to do it. So and I'd like to do a bit more acting again in the future, to be honest. But you know, again, it's just about time and prioritising, I suppose. Yeah, and I think that as well. I just really enjoyed working with the actors on this, you know, because as has been said, they were just very gifted, and they invested in the project and their characters. And if they, like I said, if they didn't feel something was working, I like to think that they could approach me, and I'd always listen and try and accommodate their ideas while shaping it into something that was useful, you know. I mean, in one instance, again, it was a bit stressful at the time, but again, looking back on it, again, it was a definite improvement. We had a situation where I was explaining a scene to Ian and Emma. I wanted to call her Shelley. Ian and Emma, and they kind of came back to me and said, no, we didn't read into that at all. We didn't see that in the script. This is what we saw. And so it kind of panic, you know, alarms kind of like went off, and it's like, whoa, okay, right, this is really, really important. You know, we need to get this right, otherwise we can't shoot this. And so, yeah, we spent about an hour just trying to work it out, you know, and I was just so grateful that they did that, because I was going off down this road, and you know, and the story was going to kind of work out one way, and if they hadn't interjected when they did, it would have carried on going down that path, and it potentially could have been a disaster. So while it was stressful for that hour, you know, we came back and we worked out a route to go down by which to get the scene shot. And then over the course of like 2 or 3 days, I was sat with Mark, he was staying with me, and we sat down and we mapped it out. Well, it came to me, and then I was talking to him about it, and we just mapped it out and rewrote the script according to, because it affected the catharsis at the end, you see, and that's the big payoff, and that's what you can't screw up, really. It's yeah, I can't remember the question, but
It's fine. But I suppose the next question would be, a few people have mentioned some rather unusual requests you've made of your actors in trying to get them into character. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about, but if you'd like to talk about a few of the special requests you've made for them.
Well, I'm sure they weren't that bothered about it, really, just making a man out of them all. Yes, blinded by production and artistic reasoning, I required my actors to disappear off into the bushes to make out for, you know, not for long, I'm just talking about a couple of snogs, you know, but, you know, it's just about getting into character, isn't it? You know, what can I say? But no, I mean, I think, yes, I think my request was somewhat unreasonable, but yeah, I think I was expecting them to achieve what Emma the makeup artist could have achieved in a matter of minutes, you know. But the whole point of it was basically A, to get them into character, and B, to get makeup smudged all over their faces, you know, so it looks like they've been at it all night. But yeah, it was one of those awkward moments where I sat Paul and Christina down, and I said, look guys, okay, we've got this scene coming up and we need you guys to kind of like look like you've been at it all night basically. So if you don't mind, I want you to go off into those bushes, just so you're out of sight, and just have a bit of a snog, And it was only when I was hearing myself saying it, I thought, this sounds really dodgy. I'm not sure how they're going to take this, and lo and behold, they kind of looked at each other, looked at me, and didn't really say anything. But their faces sort of said it all, and I kind of walked away, and I think that was that. Yeah, but then, needless to say, they sat in Emma's chair after that and got made up how they were supposed to, and then they performed admirably. So obviously my request was a bit unreasonable, but never mind.
Okay, I think we've got a few minutes of tape left. Am I
Yeah.
right there? So finally,
Yes.
if we sort of end it on
Yeah.
this tape, if you'd like to talk about what you've possibly learnt as a director and a screenwriter, I suppose, in doing this whole thing, and what you might have changed and what you've learnt for next time, and you've got about 4 minutes of talking.
Right. Okay. Well, I mean, again, I think what's nice about coming from the back end of this now. I mean, yes, we're in post production, but something that I've kind of learned from doing this, and I think I'd like to say the same for other people, is that we come at the back end thinking we do stuff differently from the beginning. For example, getting promotional stuff up and running very early on in pre-production, so people know what's going on. I don't know. Trying to sign off on a script before you start shooting. Just never underestimate, people's generosity, and always be gracious to kind of be thankful for people's time and input. And again, we were blessed on this, and I'd like to think that we gave people their dues, that we made sure we'd let people know how thankful we were that they gave us their time. What I'd do differently next time, I really don't know the answer to that, because you just never know from project to project, how things will change. I mean, preferably I'd like to do something a bit shorter next time. But then again, you just never know. I mean, you get started on a project and you just never know where it'll take you. I mean, in this case, I started off with, a 25, 30 page treatment, it ended up being 15 pages, and then it turned out to be, I don't know, I think it's about 45 pages now. So that's going to be a 45, 50-minute film. Rehearse as well, make sure we give time for, the actors to kind of get to know each other and give time for them to rehearse. I mean, we did rehearse, but it was because we were so tight on production, sometimes, we probably didn't give as much time to the rehearsals as needed. But again, when they came on set, we gave them a good half an hour to go over stuff. And I don't know. I don't know what else to say.
But I think about 1 minute, 2 minutes of tape left. Is any final things you'd like to say, just to get this on the record?
Thanks. Thanks to everyone for giving us their time, and thanks for investing in it and making it such a fun project to work on. I hope to work with everyone again in the future. I just hope that that they had a good time working on it as much as I did. And everyone come and watch it. We've got the screening hopefully in June, and we're going to try and make it nice and big and fun for everyone.
Thank you, Tim. Perfect.
We've had a nice.